All right, welcome, and thank you everyone who's joined us today. We're excited to be back in person with all of you here at the JC's Hall. I've been talking to a lot of the folks here today, this morning, and I think we all feel the same. It just feels good to be back in person, to be able to do face-to-face networking, and some of my colleagues, I think one of them said it almost feels like an economic development reunion. Being able to see some of our colleagues from other communities. For folks that don't know me, I'm Kelly Robertson-Slagle. I'm the Director of Economic Development here in beautiful Charles County, and I'm going to be your cruise director today. So you're going to see me a lot. I'm going to be the one introducing and transitioning in between. So for our speakers, look for me, see where I'm at, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun and learn a lot of great information today. Before we get started, we wanted to recognize and thank our event sponsors and partners for their support for today's fall meeting. University of Maryland Charles Regional Medical Center for sponsoring our delicious breakfast this morning. Cedar Point Federal Credit Union, the Energetics Technology Center, the law offices of Sue A. Greer, Hooper and Associates, the Naval Surface Warfare Center Indian Head Division, our friends at SMECO, our friends at Shoots International, and our friends at the University Systems of Maryland at Southern Maryland. Can you please give me a round of applause for the sponsors? Thank you. Further, I wanted to recognize our elected officials in attendance. We were trying to capture folks as they were coming in the door, so I apologize in advance if I missed anybody. But we did want to acknowledge Commissioner President Reuben Collins here in the front row. We have with us District 1 Commissioner Gilbert B.J. Bowling, also in the front row up here. Thank you. From the town of La Plata, we have Mayor Jeannie James. Thank you. We also have Councilwoman Evelyn Bryant Ward with us this morning. Thank you. From the town of Indian Head, we have Mayor Brandon Paulin. From the Charles County Board of Education, Board Chair Mike Lucas. We also have from Senator Ben Cardin's office, Roderick Lewis, our friend. Thank you, Roderick, for coming. In addition, from county government, I have my colleagues, acting Charles County Commissioner, acting Charles County Administrator, Deborah Hall. Acting Deputy County Administrator Jenny Ellen, County Attorney Wes Adams, as well as several other senior staff from Fiscal Administrative Services and Recreation, Parks, and Tourism. So thank you, my colleagues, for coming out and supporting us today. Last but certainly not least, we also have several members of our Economic Development Advisory Board who are also in attendance, and I appreciate your support, not just today, but throughout the year as we tackle some of these topics that are impacting, good and bad, but are impacting our local business community. And finally, I wanted to recognize what I consider the real VIPs and the most important people here this morning, and that is the business community and stakeholders in Charles County. If you are a business owner for a nonprofit or for-profit company, an aspiring entrepreneur, a senior corporate business executive located here in Charles County, we applaud you. And thank you for choosing Charles County as your location to do business. We realize in today's economy, you literally can set up shop anywhere now, virtually and otherwise. And we sincerely appreciate and we take it very much to heart that you chose Charles County as your location. Your team in the Department of Economic Development, along with our Circle of Service business resource partners, applaud you for your resiliency and strength, navigating the challenges of the past few years. Some years have been easier than others, but it certainly hasn't been easy. As I've said over the past few years many times, and I will continue to say, you are the job creators, and today's meeting is about you. So we're really hoping that you're going to be able to walk away with some good information, some stuff that you can immediately take back within your business and start to implement. This morning, we're focused on advancing the workforce together. Our team has designed a program with existing businesses in mind. We've got an exciting lineup plan for you, focused on challenges, opportunities with developing a skilled and diverse workforce. So thank you again for being here. Now let's get this program started, and I would like to welcome to the stage Charles County Board of County Commissioners President, Mr. Reuben Collins. Thank you, Reuben.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome everyone to Charles County's Economic Development Fall Meeting. It's great to see a wonderful turnout today. And it's almost surreal in a lot of ways because if you think about it, the last time we were here together was in 2019. Put all that in perspective. Think about how much has occurred during that time period away. And notwithstanding the fact that we dealt with a pandemic, it's exciting to really express how much economic activity has occurred here in Charles County. As we reflect on our economic development priorities, I understand that it's our local businesses that are the engine which drives our growth. They are the heartbeat of our community that contributes to the quality of life that we enjoy here. It's a great feeling to walk into a local business where the owners know you by name, and that's exactly the kind of place that we're fortunate to call home. While we are a county with a small town feel, our profile is increasing regionally for all the right reasons. Once again, we were recently informed that we've achieved a AAA bond rating. Charles County is among only a handful of more than 3,000 jurisdictions across the country that have received this highest rating. It reflects the fact that we're responsibly managing our resources, have a depth of knowledge and experience among our executive leadership, and are making fiscal policy decisions that will ensure we meet our debt obligations today and in the future. These ratings also recognize the expanding commercial growth that is contributing to our stable economic outlook. Charles County continues to grow in population, diversity, and industries. We know that it is one of the reasons more people are choosing to move to Charles County, because they see it as a safe place where they can enjoy the many opportunities and amenities that we provide. We also hope that they will choose to both live and work close to home. During today's meeting, we're focused on providing you with important information about connecting our talented residents with workforce opportunities right here where they live. The theme for today's meeting, Advancing Workforce Together, is designed for us to share resources with you about how to tap into the workforce available right here in our community. We will also talk about how to think outside the box to connect with potential employees from non-traditional settings. We have local resource partners like Melwood here, a local nonprofit that connects persons with disabilities to jobs and opportunities. We are also working with reentry programs for formerly incarcerated individuals. Everyone deserves a chance or a second chance, and our businesses need the skills that they can contribute. We will also be talking about how you can connect better with one another to improve your own workplace culture and retain talent that you already have. Our new Charles Chats sessions will feature local businesses that share how their workplace cultures are designed to flourish. We are embracing partnerships with our community and collaboration with our business leaders because our collective efforts will be essential to help us prosper. You will also learn more about our assets inventory. It's a first of its kind here in the state of Maryland. The asset inventory helps us identify economic advantages that we can leverage to sustain growth. The inventory also determines our gaps so the county can build capacity, strengthen regional connections, and renew strategic investments that move us forward. We're becoming more prosperous, partly because we have strong economic development leadership, and they're willing to try new approaches and make sound decisions that have put us on the right path. Coupled with our economic expansion, we've embedded equity into our decision-making process. We have equity emphasis areas where we are especially focused on investments that match the potential for progress all throughout Charles County, from Waldorf to Indian Head, to La Plata, White Plains, and Hughesville. We're committed to providing equitable access to resources and services. The county wants to ensure that we measure our progress toward the economic outcomes for everyone, and we evaluate our success on that very basis. Advancing our workforce, as we're highlighting today, gives our community opportunities to achieve success right where they live. Additionally, our economic development team is looking at new ways to attract sustainable industries that we can reliably support through our local economy. Expanding our commercial growth and tax base gives us better long-term economic stability for all of our communities. I'm a leader who looks at economic opportunities like I've stated on many occasions before. We are one Charles County that can succeed together when we're unified in vision and purpose. We can define success by these collective measures to ensure we're moving toward the outcomes that, like a rising tide, lifts the boats for all. So in conclusion, I thank our economic development team for your efforts to advance the economic development goals for our county. You will hear from them directly today as they share their annual report and discuss accomplishments over the last year. The Department of Economic Development team is always looking for ways to anticipate the needs of our business community, as well as provide the support these businesses need to keep their employees and operations going, no matter the challenges that they face. On behalf of all my colleagues on the Board of Commissioners, we appreciate being able to hear directly from all of you, whether through town halls, community meetings, neighborhood events, and local gatherings. Collectively, we can measure our success by how we are able to come together to achieve shared goals. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I'm looking forward to being a part of this cruise. I see smooth sailing along the way, and I don't anticipate anything less because this is Charles County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Collins. Next up is our opening speaker, the Secretary of Labor for the State of Maryland, Ms. Portia Wu. Before joining the Moore administration, Secretary Wu has held numerous roles in public service, including Assistant Secretary for Employment and Training at the United States Department of Labor, Special Assistant to President Barack Obama for Labor and Workforce and Senate Help Committee Labor Policy Director for the late Senator Edward M. Kennedy. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Maryland Department of Labor Secretary Portia Wu.
Good morning. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Commissioner President Collins. It is wonderful to be here today. Good morning, everyone. I bring you warm wishes from Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller, and of course, all the Moore-Miller administration. It is so exciting to be here today to talk about economic development. And what I didn't realize this was your first time getting back together in person in a couple of years. And so I can't think of any topic that's more exciting or more timely than talking about workforce. I know that, there's lots of economic good news right now, right? Maryland has the lowest unemployment in the nation. Charles County is right up there, unemployment below 2%. Who ever thought we would see something like that? But while in some ways that's great news, it means our economy is strong and growing. I know for many of you in this room, that's also sort of a headache, right? As employers, as folks who are looking for talent, you were thinking, where are the workers? What can we do? How can we solve some of the economic challenges that we're still facing in our communities? And that's a combination of workforce, transportation, affordable housing, supporting small businesses, making sure we can continue growth, but also preserving our communities and our way of life. And so I'm really excited to be here because, for a lot of years, like folks like us who have worked in labor and workforce, we were never sort of the headline news, but now we really are, which is super exciting. And these are some tough challenges, an exciting time, and there's no better way to tackle this than through partnership. And that's what is so wonderful about this convening. I had a chance to chat with some people before we got started this morning, and it's wonderful to have people here from economic development, from public sector partners, from private sector, from our defense industry complex, also from our schools, from the school board. I think for a long time we've thought workforce is over here, education is over there. No longer. We need to think about these things together, and that's the opportunity that things like the Maryland Blueprint present to us as well. It's a great time to say, okay, how can we do things differently? How can we make sure we're providing opportunities and career pathways for all Marylanders? How can we think about bringing our young people along into all the incredible options that we have in our economy? So I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about some things we're doing at Department of Labor. I want to make sure you're aware of them. And of course, if you're not partnering with us or working with us, we want to be sure that we strengthen those connections. I'm delighted to have some of my colleagues, Mary Keller and Jamie Mangrum, in front here. So please connect with us if you haven't already. First of all, the department is proud to support the 4 American Job Centers in Southern Maryland that have served over 1,800 job seekers and 500 businesses in the last fiscal year. I hope you all know that job seekers can use job centers, not only to seek unemployment insurance if they need it, but also to search for new jobs. And if you're a business that has not connected with your local job center, please do so, because they can be an incredibly important source of talent. We also support things like incumbent worker training. So for example, if you have workers who are skilled, but you need to adopt that new technology, you need to move where the trends in your industry are going, the Department of Labor is available to provide funds to support training for those workers. Also, we have a host of other services. Many of you are familiar with unemployment insurance, occupational and professional licensing. We license over 270,000 individuals across the state in areas from real estate appraisal to cosmetology. So, and of course, we also have coming online soon in the next year or two, the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program. And I know there are a lot of questions about that, so I hope that if you haven't already been connected, we've been doing some listening sessions with chambers of commerce, want to answer your questions. This is a great opportunity. I know sometimes it can be a little scary to have a new big program, but it's really a great opportunity. We have seen all the data shows in states where this has come before that paid leave helps increase workers' attachment to the workforce, particularly among women workers. So it helps make sure those workers stay attached to the workforce and are available to come back for you to be a talented labor pool. I just wanted to touch on a couple other things which are really strong areas of growth and emphasis for the department in this coming year. One of them is registered apprenticeship. So we're super excited about the growth we've seen in registered apprenticeship. We have currently over 11,000 apprentices across the state, nearly 200 programs. And we know from the blueprint there's a real focus on youth apprenticeship. So we want to partner with you to provide opportunities to make sure that we can bring young people into those apprenticeships and get them trained in new careers, not only in the skilled trades, but in areas like healthcare, IT, national security. And we have some wonderful partnerships here in Southern Maryland that we want to make sure we're working on with you. Also, our Earn Maryland program is really a focus on industry needs and skills. It encourages industries to develop creative solutions to certain challenges they're facing. I want to call out the partnership that's led by College of Southern Maryland on water and wastewater career development. You know, some employers like the Charles County Department of Public Works noticed that employees were struggling to pass some needed exams. So what happened is employers teamed up with the Maryland Center for Environmental Training, and they developed a curriculum to focus on the most difficult parts of the exam, to really focus on, fundamentals of water and wastewater management. And so now the pass rate has doubled compared to the national average because of that partnership. And people saying, we know we have skilled, interested workers out there. How can we help them succeed and help us get the talent we need to manage our local needs? So at the end of this month, we are actually going to be putting out a new solicitation for grant proposals on that if folks are interested in coming in together. So, industry partnerships, we focus on funding a lot of different opportunities here for growth industries, and welcome you to come in, and Mary's happy to answer questions about that. Lastly, I'm going to close by sharing some exciting news. Today, we have a new announcement, and I want to announce that the Tri-County Council of Southern Maryland is the first recipient of the New Start Grant Program. Yay! That's made possible through the Maryland New Start Act of 2022, and coming back to the President Commissioner's comments, we're only going to succeed if we can make sure all of our citizens and all parts of our economy have access to opportunity. And entrepreneurship is an incredible opportunity for individuals. So this grant is seeking to empower returning citizens by connecting them to entrepreneurship development training. They'll be also connected with small business financing opportunities, including the Maryland Department of Commerce's microloan program, which is expected to launch next year. So through this grant, the Tri-County Council will receive funding to support 32 individuals who are returning to their communities and are excited to start their own businesses. Congratulations on that. And, I think that's just an example of how Charles County and Southern Maryland, I travel all around the state, and that's a wonderful opportunity and wonderful part of this job. But everywhere I see in Maryland, I think that's part of what makes our state so special and this region so special, is people's willingness to come together. I said, someone asked me once, it was mentioned that I spent a lot of years in federal government. And they said, how is it different in the state? And I said, what I love about the state? I never hear people say Republican this, Democrat that, right? We're just saying, how can we get the work done? How can we work together? What is the need in our community? And people are just so willing to roll up their sleeves, work together, come in goodwill, say, this is where I'm coming from. Let me share my ideas. What can I contribute? And so that's why I'm so excited, and thank you for having me today. I hope you have a wonderful set of discussions about workforce and how to meet our coming challenges. And of course, at Department of Labor, our door is always open to you, and let us know how we can help. Thank you so much.
Great. Back up. Thank you, Secretary Wu, for sharing your insights this morning and for your steadfast support of workforce initiatives from across the state. Our team in economic development prides and has a lot of pride in our partnerships with you and with the Department of Labor, as well as your team. So we have a token of appreciation for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
We appreciate it. And Secretary Wu is actually, she's got a busy day today. She's actually going to be spending some more time in Charles County this afternoon at the Velocity Center, meeting with some more industry partners. Again, showing that partnership and constantly looking for ways that we can expand and do more for our local business community. So thank you. We do appreciate your time this morning. And thank you to your staff. You guys are wonderful to work with.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, now we get to at least my favorite part, I should say. I get to brag about our department and our team a little bit here over the next couple of minutes. As Director of Economic Development, I'm extremely excited to report to you some of our department's highlights over the last year. I am extremely proud of every single member of our team and the collective work that we've accomplished over 2023. I will tell you, in economic development, no 2 days are the same. It's probably like that a lot within your own offices, but truly in economic development, that is truly what we feel like week in and week out. You know, we get in the morning and we might be playing and going in this direction, the phone rings and we're going in a different direction. But collectively, we accomplished a lot of really good things for our local business community and in support. So I will hopefully be able to just hit the green button. Oh, there we go. All right, speaking of my team, we've had some transitions over the last year. In March 2023, Michelle DeSoto Fry, who's back, wave over there, Michelle, she's back over in the corner, over there helping out behind the scenes, was promoted to Deputy Director of the department. In late summer, we began recruitment of her former position, the Research and Special Projects Manager position. And we're excited to announce that Jack Street, who's joining us today in the audience, Jack's out there somewhere, Jack's waving right there in the center, has accepted this position and will be starting later this month. So please take a moment during the break to introduce yourself to Jack. And welcome, Jack. We're excited to have you join our team. In addition, in August 2023, Martin Prue, who most of us in the audience know and love, our former Ag and Rural Development Manager, accepted an appointed position as Maryland's first State Value-Added Agricultural Specialist with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. This position was created by the Maryland General Assembly during the 2023 legislative session. I cannot tell you how proud we are of Martin, and we look forward to working with him in this new role. Recruitment of the Ag and Rural Development Manager has already begun, and we're currently reviewing applications, hoping to complete interviews in early December, with having somebody in place by late December, early January. Lastly, we're excited to begin recruitment for a brand new position within county government in early 2024, the MWBE/DBE Compliance Manager. This position is part of the newly established Small Local Minority Business Enterprise Division within the Department of Economic Development, which you'll hear about a little bit later in this presentation. Now let's get started on our 2023 annual report highlights. You'll notice hard copies have been provided to each of you today, should be right there in front of you. In addition, it is now live on our website. So if you get back or you want to share it with any of your colleagues, just visit our website, meetcharlescounty.com. You'll be able to share the link from there. As many in the audience know, growth planning is a pivotal step in a business life cycle, requiring both time and resources. In response to these challenges, the Business Growth Advantage Program was initiated, and I'm happy to report it continues to be one of Economic Development Department's most successful initiatives. As background, for those that are not familiar with the program, the BGAP offers dedicated support to businesses that have been active for at least 2 years, delivering an in-depth 8-week training regimen. This framework is conducive to collaborative learning, blended blending expert consulting, peer interactions, and multifaceted training in areas like strategic planning, accounting, human resources, legal considerations, and insurance. Upon concluding the program, and that means attending all 8 weeks in person, which virtual, virtually all 8 weeks, eligible participants receive a $10,000 grant to enhance their operational capital. And I'm going to take a pause here to thank, once again, our Board of County Commissioners for dedicating the needed investment to our local business community. This program continues to be paid for from the ARPA funds that we receive from the federal government. And when they were making decisions on where they wanted to invest those ARPA funds, they dedicated quite a bit of money to the Department of Economic Development so we could do this program for the local business community. So thank you again, Commissioners. To date, under the leadership of the Department of Economic Development teammate Lucretia Freeman-Buster, Chief of Business Services, and Margaret Durecki, Business Retention and Expansion Consultant, BGAP has supported 105 local businesses through 8 successful cohorts with grants totaling $820,000 distributed to growth for their endeavors. In addition, 2 alumni events have been held and with more planned in the coming year. Looking ahead, cohort number 9 is currently in the works with more cohorts planned through 2024. If you or someone that you know may be interested in applying for a future cohort, please reach out to our department for more information. It is an application process, but I can tell you, all you need to do is reach out to us. Give us a call. We will connect you with the appropriate person to help you, direct you to that application, and then pretty much help you through the entire process. We are very proud of our graduates. You heard a little bit about our alumni events. We're really kicking those up. I mean, we have 105 graduates now. That is just phenomenal. And absolutely. And I know I see some of you in the audience that are graduates of the program. And for us, we want to keep that momentum going and really just the pride and, sharing some of their experiences and what they've invested their grant in and continuing the momentum of that program well beyond when our ARPA funding runs out. That is very important to us. So thank you, Lucretia and Margaret, for your constant support. I can say that program is their baby. I hear about it every single week, and I can tell you, you are really the magic sauce when it comes to the BBAC program. So thank you very much. Okay. This past May, the department, under the leadership of EDD teammate Anthony Adesina, I will learn how to pronounce his name correctly. He and I go around back and forth about this. He's our business retention and expansion manager. We successfully executed our 2nd annual Business Appreciation Week, May 8th through the 12th. The BAW initiative was developed by our department in 2022 for a couple purposes. First and foremost, to thank our existing business community for choosing Charles County as their business location, to celebrate business milestones, initiatives, achievements, really having an opportunity to understand more in depth what the business trends are, needs, challenges, opportunities, encouraging our local residents to know what they have in their backyard, really, and encouraging them to shop local and support their local businesses. And then offer another opportunity to educate local businesses about some of the resources that are not only available through our department, but through our Circle of Services resource partners. This year's week was filled with a variety of events and activities, and those of you that participated know it was a very busy week for us. We had proclamation from the Board of County Commissioners. We did a Circle of Services educational webinar where we introduced and reminded our local business community about some of the local resources. We held a cohort, I believe it was cohort number 6, BGAP graduation. We also had a BGAP alumni luncheon that week. We held 2 ribbon cuttings welcoming 2 new businesses to the community, and also held an evening business networking mixer in partnership with the Charles County Chamber, which was fantastic. In addition, our BAW ambassador teams personally visited 24 Charles County businesses, thanking them for choosing Charles County as their business home and discussing in depth kind of what their needs are, what are they seeing within their industries, what do they see in other communities that they like, that they think might be applicable for us to consider here in Charles. And finally, under the leadership of Michelle Fry, our Deputy Director, and Jennifer Reginald, our Marketing Coordinator, the department debuted a successful marketing campaign with Love from Charles during Business Appreciation Week, utilizing social media, television, local radio advertisements, and billboards, encouraging residents to put their money where their heart is and buy local in Charles County. I'm hoping some of you saw our billboard. I always call it Sheriff Barry's billboard, the one that when you're heading north on 301, right before you get into the kind of the retail section there. We were able to get it from Sheriff Barry and put our Shop Local billboard there. We were very excited, very proud of it. We got a lot of positive feedback about it. So thank you to our team for that. Looking ahead, please mark your calendars for BAW 2024. We're looking at May 6th through the 10th. More details on this event and associated activities will be available in the coming weeks, and we hope that you'll be able to participate this coming year. If you direct your view towards the screens here, you can see a couple pictures from some of our visits, and you might recognize a couple faces there. Okay, great. This past year, the county's internal disparity study team, including Shauna Reese, Chief of Purchasing, my fellow teammate, Lucinia Mundy, Small and Minority Business Development Specialist, myself, and Danielle Mitchell, Associate County Attorney, continued diligent work towards implementing the recommendations from the 2020 Charles County Disparity Study. This work culminated in a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners in early summer, explaining the history of the purchasing code, of the small local business enterprise and minority business enterprise programs. It also included progress on the disparity study implementation and proposed updates to Chapter 203, which is the county MWBE and SLBE legislation, which specifically is the legislation which addresses these programs in procurement. An associated public hearing and follow-up work session with the commissioners was completed in midsummer, and we are extremely excited to report that in September, the commissioners voted to approve the recommended legislative updates. So we are now off to the races. We're very excited about this. The updated legislation officially establishes the new Small, Local, and Minority Business Enterprise Programs Division within the Department of Economic Development. Our economic development team is working in coordination with the procurement office and developing our budget, our staffing, our training needs, as well as the new SOPs that will be associated with the new updated legislation. Starting in January 2024, and please pay attention to this, starting in January 2024, please look for regular program updates from the Small, Local, and Minority Business Enterprise Programs Division and our department's weekly e-news. This will be a great way for you to keep up to date as this initiative continues to unfold and new information's become available. We have a lot of stuff that we are planning to debut to help transition into our new legislation. We're very excited about it. We want to get the word out as broadly as we can. We want to help to educate our businesses that were familiar with the way the procurement and what our thresholds were prior to the updates, and we want to make sure that they're knowledgeable about what the new changes mean. But with that being said, I wish I could say it was a light switch and we flipped it on and now we can just transition. There is some departmental changes and some groundwork that needs to be put into place with staff in order for us to transition effectively. But I am here today to say we are going to be accountable, we are going to be transparent, and we want to make sure that you are with us every step of the way as we move through this transition. We do have a clock. We have set our own internal deadline of when, and legislatively we have a deadline as well, but my deadline is way sooner than that. So please, starting in January, be on the lookout for that information and be sure to participate, if you can, in all of our upcoming events that we have as we look to debut this new information. We're very excited about it. Okay, this is just a reminder. If you have not read the disparity study report, it has been online for a couple years now, but still some people haven't had a chance to read all of the background information of kind of how we got to today. It is accessible on our meetcharlescounty.com website main page. You see the arrow there up in the right-hand corner. It's just a PDF download. You can reach it right there, and you can take a look at it. And certainly, if you have any questions about any of this that has to do with the new legislation, the direction that we're going in, what does it mean for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to our staff. We have people that are available to answer those questions for you. Okay. On May 31st, a delegation from Waldorf, Germany toured Charles County, reaffirming the sister city relationship with Waldorf, Maryland, which was established in 1997. And actually, our partners with the Waldorf JCs was a part of that initial partnership. So it's kind of fitting that we're here today at the Waldorf JCs talking about this. For those that aren't familiar, sister city relationships like the one between Waldorf, Germany and Waldorf, Maryland offer numerous benefits, including business and trade relations, community development, arts, cultural, youth, and educational exchanges. The group discussed, The group discussed economic development, education, and tourism, and other points throughout the day at the following stops. And it was a great day. For those that were able to participate, it really was a great day. We started out at the Charles County Government Building, where our friends from Waldorf, Germany were welcomed from our Board of County Commissioners with a proclamation. We were able to do some introductions with some key senior leadership staff with county government, and gave an overview, just kind of an update of, what is Waldorf, what does Charles County look like now since 1997? Obviously, a lot of stuff has changed. And we also were able to provide an overview of the day. Then we were able to go to North Point High School, and honestly, this is probably my favorite part of the day. For those that don't know, in 2007, the delegation from Waldorf, Germany visited North Point High School and presented them with a Heidelberg printing press that was donated from Heidelberg Printing Corporation, which is headquartered in Waldorf, Germany. So it was for their print tech program when it was initially established. So during this current trip, they wanted to learn more about our educational system, to look at how we can build and foster some partnerships with educational exchanges, CTE programs, all of the cool stuff that we know that goes on at North Point. I can tell you the students rose to the occasion. The North Point Orchestra played at lunch. The culinary students provided a fabulous lunch for us. And the print design graphics students actually did commemorative posters commemorating the visit and presented it to the Waldorf, Germany delegation. It just was a fabulous, fabulous day. We also were able to get a tour of some of the CTE areas around North Point, and I can tell you the delegation from Waldorf, Germany, including the mayor, they were just blown away. They really were blown away to see the progress for when they initially had visited in 2007 to now. Our third stop was the Waldorf Volunteer Fire Department. Again, a very fun visit. That's where some of the fire and rescue officials from Waldorf, Germany were able to network and meet with our volunteer service at Waldorf, tour the facilities, the engines, the trucks. They also exchanged some gifts, which I understand is a tradition within the fire service. They also got to take a ride on the aerial truck and had some really good dialogue. So it was really good to see their emergency management and fire and rescue folks interacting with our local guys and gals at the Waldorf department. And then we wrapped up at the old historic Waldorf School, actually right next door, where we had a great networking dinner. They learned a little bit about that historic high school, and other VIPs, our Economic Development Advisory Board members. We had some other community stakeholders and elected officials join us to kind of wrap up the day. So great day. We're really excited about the next visit. We have some ongoing conversations with our folks from Waldorf, Germany, especially on the educational side. They're really excited about some student exchange opportunities and otherwise. And we're looking at we do have some other sister city partnerships, international partnerships that we are looking to reaffirm like we did with Waldorf, moving ahead through the next couple of years. So it's very exciting. Okay. All right, I'm now going to turn things over to Taylor Ewell, our Chief of Commercial Development, to discuss our new asset inventory initiative, which we're extremely excited about and actually debuting today, and then also provide some key updates on development projects from our targeted industries. But before Taylor comes up, I wanted to also give special thanks to Taylor, to Martin, and to Judy Obi, our Business Development Coordinator, for their support in the development and frankly, leadership in the development of the new asset inventory. I mean, they really picked this up and they ran with it and were able to pull in all the partners and the information in a very short time for us to really debut it today. So thank you, Taylor and Judy and Martin. So here you go. Push the green.
Good morning, everybody. Hot off the presses, first edition. So it's a keepsake souvenir. This is very similar to our annual report in just a couple of ways. It's an informational document. It does not have recommendations. It does not really even have conclusion. It's a situational awareness document, if you will, on the current conditions in Charles County and various things that impact our progress and economic development. And just to take you through the sections in here, so you have some familiarity with it, the first thing we start out with is a fairly in-depth dive into our industrial base. It's probably the longest section in this document, and it bears scrutiny. We talk about research and development. Yes, there is a research and development sector in Charles County. They're very active. We get into physical infrastructure, roadways, the transportation network, communications, utilities, and so on. So there's information in there and contact information for these various utility providers. We get into workforce. We get into a bit more detail on workforce than is in our annual report. Education, we've got a list of the public schools. We get into some depth talking about CSM and their programs. Financial capital, where can you borrow money for your business to create or expand? Business incentives, state and county. Connective organizations, the chamber, the Military Alliance Council, the Tri-State Commission, the Minority Chamber. Government, contact information for our federal delegation, our state delegation, and our local elected officials. And finally, quality of life, amenities, parks and rec, points of interest. So it really is a document that is useful. I mean, if you're considering coming to Charles County to expand your business, to start a business, or just coming here to live, this complements the annual report, but it is a standalone document. And so really, what is the purpose of it? Well, resource identification. It lets us know what we have and where it is. That's important for economic expansion. Foundation for strategic planning and implementation. It serves as the starting point or the basis for planning and strategic planning and recommendations and so forth. Deepened understanding of key systems and linkages. Public, private, institutional, our education system, our private sector, our government. Catalyst for partnership. We're all on the same page once we've read this. I think we all understand what and where our assets are, so it gives us a much better understanding, for what we need to do, what we need to have when we're creating these partnerships. Then finally, motivational tool for implementation. This is going to be updated on an annual basis. So we really need to see where we've been to figure out where we need to go. Do we need to reallocate resources? Do we need to concentrate on an emerging business sector? So we see it as a very useful document in terms of not only economic development internally, but economic development in general in the county, business, resident, and otherwise. So I'm going to get into our target industries, but we're also going to talk about some significant projects in these various sectors, real estate sectors. So healthcare is very important to everybody. I mean, what's more important than your health? And Charles County has a critical care facility in La Plata. It's about a 109-bed hospital, University of Maryland. They also have outpatient clinics that they're expanding throughout the county. Since 2020, we've seen a fairly significant presence from MedStar. They've built 3 new buildings along southbound 301. And Kaiser Permanente has a new campus planned for South Waldorf near Billingsley Road. So this is really important as a quality of life issue for the community, and I think it's important for the community to have accessible and convenient health care. One wonders how far people had to go to get various health care services, before these facilities really started expanding. Energetics. Well, what the heck is energetics? And I've got a short definition. It's a branch of science dealing with the properties of energy and the way it is distributed in physical or chemical processes. I don't know if you know this, but the primary mission of the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Indian Head is to manufacture rocket fuel. And just the fuel. And they have several initiatives, and there's a list of them on the screen. A modernization plan, there's a national energetics initiative, a smart arsenal plan. And so what does all that mean? Well, there's a fair amount of deferred maintenance on the base that's being carried out now. They're modernizing. They're fixing what needs to be fixed. They're updating and upgrading what needs upgrading. And they're building what needs to be built. And oh, by the way, did I tell you they make rocket fuel? So if you have a company that makes rocket motors, pull up a chair and let's talk. And that's just what they're doing. They're attracting these companies that do make rocket motors. They're coming onto the base. What that means for Charles County is we're essentially expanding that sector of our economy. And at some point, there'll be a need for these businesses to be able to expand outside of the base and into buildings and facilities in the county. So it's important for us to know that so we can help ensure those buildings and facilities are there. Lastly, logistics. Logistics is essentially warehouse and distribution. In 2020, Amazon came into town and they took over a 200,000 square foot vacant warehouse distribution building that had sat vacant for 10 years. And we do not have a really a very large logistics sector, but we do have some opportunities for it to expand. One of those is the development that's going on Berry Road called Berry Point. That is actually a flex development, but it's going to be able to accommodate a fair amount of warehousing and distribution if there's a demand for it. Then there's the Morgantown plant, and we would call that an opportunity site. We don't know exactly how that's going to turn out, but we're leaning towards a logistics hub down there. It's got a great transportation network of its own. It's served by rail, it's served by barge, and it's right on US 301 near the new bridge. So we're very excited about all of this and everything, and I would urge you to look through the asset inventory and if you have any suggestions or anything, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know if there's something we left out. We are going to be updating it on an annual basis, so we would urge you to do so. So that concludes me, and Kelly, back to you.
Thank you, Taylor. As you can see, we have a lot of exciting opportunities on the horizon in a lot of different areas that we're focused on in economic development. Please, as Taylor said, I can't stress it enough, that asset inventory is going to be a living and breathing document. We realize as soon as we print it, it's going to be out of date because that's how things are. That being said, we plan on keeping an electronic copy, an updated electronic copy available on our website, and we will print it periodically. We printed it today because we wanted you to have it, you could see it, you could roll through it, you could take it with you and really have a chance to kind of absorb the information there. But for us, it really was important, as Taylor said, it's hard for us to promote to the outside if we're not all on the same page and don't truly understand what we look like on the inside. And this was our way of getting everything in a consolidated document. And, folks that have already taken a look at it this morning have come up and said, wow, this is fantastic, to be able to see it all together in a nice, neat little package there. But I'm proud of it. I'm from Charles County, born and raised here. And when you see what we've become and how we've grown, I'm really proud of that document. We've grown in a lot of ways. That being said, we got work to do. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We constantly, and that's not unique to Charles, that's any community. You talk to my friends over there from St. Mary's County, they'll tell you the same thing. They got work to do down there too. So really take the time to look at it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you feel like there's just a section missing or even something. We want to make sure that this is a valuable document, not just for us in economic development, but also for the business community as well as our leadership as well. So thank you for that. All right, in closing, just a couple things. Continue to support our local businesses. I know I'm preaching to the choir, certainly with this, but encourage your friends, your family, your neighbors, your colleagues, not just during this local holiday season, but year round. I mean, we're getting a lot of fantastic new businesses coming into our community. It's always exciting and people want to try it out. Don't just try it out when they first open. Continue to support them. Maybe buy some gift cards or, you have a special event coming up. My family, we try to pledge to try once a month to try something new in Charles County. We started that during COVID and, the family really liked it, so we continue to do that. And we found some really unique places that we are big supporters of now. So please support our local business community. And become our economic development ambassadors. You've heard already the theme of partnerships kind of weave throughout the day. We don't work in a silo. We certainly can't do it alone. We work in coordination and in support of a lot of different partners. And we look at our business community as a partner in this work as well. We realize that you're constantly talking to your colleagues, your businesses that are located right next door. If you've experienced something or you have tapped in or you heard about something that's going on, please share that information with them. And really the best way to be up to date on that information is signing up for our e-news that I spoke about earlier. Comes out every single week, packed filled with really relevant, good information for you. So you're definitely going to want to do that. And then follow us on social media. We're very active, Jennifer and Michelle and the crew on the marketing side of the house. They're constantly trying to retweet, share relevant information to get it out to our community at large. So please take the time to do that for us. We would really appreciate it. Okay. And that is the end. And I think we're going to do one more. There we go. Now my friend over here in the corner is going to transition. Okay, next up, I'd like to introduce our keynote for today, Mr. Brad Turner-Little. Mr. Turner-Little is a distinguished leader in the field of workforce development and currently serves as president and CEO of the National Association of Workforce Boards. His profound experience and commitment to empowering individuals through employment and skills development have made him a respected figure in his field. He's passionate about driving economic vitality in communities and fostering economic development for individuals from all walks of life. Before assuming his current role, Brad honed his expertise and leadership skills during his tenure at Goodwill Industries International and Easter Seals, where he served in various key positions, most recently at Goodwill Industries International, Vice President of Strategy and Network Experience. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Turner-Little.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. So I need to get something out of the way just here at the very get-go. Is anybody here connected to or have a child that attends Westlake? Do we have any Wolverines in the room? I got one back here, or I have some family connected to that. So I live in Damascus. For those of you down in the state, so Damascus is up in the middle part, northern part of the state, and we're on a track to meet in the Maryland high school football playoffs. If we both make it, we will see each other in Annapolis, and we're going to beat you. I got a head shake back there. No, you won't. I am Brad Turnalillo. I'm the president and CEO of the National Association of Workforce Boards. Just real quickly about NAWB. I got to click it one more time. There we go. So NAWB represents, supports, and advocates for the nation's 500, I have to read this, by the way. My communications person tells me that I have to say this verbatim every time I speak. NAWB represents, supports, and advocates for the nation's 575 workforce boards, which coordinate with education, economic development stakeholders to administer regional workforce programs, which meets the needs of job seekers, career seekers, businesses, and communities. So NAWB is the organization that wakes up and thinks about and tries to find ways, at the end of the day, to support you as you navigate helping people in your community, your neighbors, both the businesses and the people, come together and find opportunity. That's what NAWB does. And I'm proud to say that the Tri-County Council for Southern Maryland, through the Southern Maryland Job Source, is a member of NAWB. So thank you for that ongoing membership. I don't know what your due cycle is, but I hope you'll keep paying. I have a couple things that I wanted to sort of go over here with y'all this morning. But we have reached, and you'll be glad to know this, we have reached the audience participation part of the morning. Are you ready? All right. So, now I will repeat to make sure that everybody in the room can hear what is said, because I don't want to have a mic runner. I'll repeat. Plus, I need to get more steps in, so I need to get my blood moving. So, I will repeat your answers. What comes to mind when you consider the phrase economic vitality? What comes to mind? Low unemployment. I hear from back here. Somebody else. Growth. Somebody else. Vision. Love that one. Vision. Somebody else. Sustainability. So when you say sustainability, tell me a little bit more, right? Remember, I worked for 25 years for Goodwill Industries International. When I hear the word sustainability, I think about recycled clothing. So what do you mean?
I mean long-term growth.
Long-term growth. Excellent. Thank you for that, by the way. Somebody else. Yes, ma'am. Equity. Everybody. Commissioner Rubin. Can I call you Commissioner Rubin? Look at that. It's like I go to Damascus United Methodist Church, and we have Pastor Phil. So Commissioner Rubin said, it lifts all boats, right? It lifts all boats. Somebody else. Revenue. Prosperity. Livable wages. Somebody else. Workforce. And I heard diversity over here. Is that right? Diversity over here, right? So this concept of economic vitality, I want to catch a couple things real quickly that good Commissioner Rubin, I'm going to start calling you Pastor Rubin too. Is that all right? Look at here now. He said, we here in Charles County are about achieving success right here for people where they live. What a wonderful concept, right? We're going to expand economic opportunities that lift all. In order to lift all, you've got to lift the business community and your neighbors, right? So when I knew this question was coming up, so I was listening. And what you've got here, there's some secret sauce here in Charles County. There really is, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to include some things that might add to the flavoring of the secret sauce. Sound okay? Come on, people. All right. Now, so this is the question that is before us. How might we achieve all of these things that you've articulated, right? Because actually what you've done now is you've shared an aspiration. An aspiration for you and your neighbors and your county, for the people to be able to work where they live and rise. How might we achieve economic vitality for our business community and our neighbors here in Charles County? So, let's talk a little bit about Charles County. Now, the data I'm getting ready to show you comes from a company called Lightcast. Anybody familiar with Lightcast? I got one hand in the back. I got two hands. Look at that. Yeah, they're in lovely Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They're headquartered in Moscow, Idaho, but they're in lovely Coeur d'Alene. If you have never been to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, it's actually a bucket list place. It is breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. But anyway, they are the preeminent data provider. God bless you, Portia. Oh, I'm sorry, Secretary Wu. I'm sorry. I've known Portia for a while. They take the data from the State Department of Labor's, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the federal level, combine it with a bunch of other stuff, and have a really, really powerful engine to understand what's happening in communities from an economic and a workforce perspective. And if you're not familiar with their work, I would encourage you to do so. Matter of fact, your Tri-County actually has access to all of the kinds of data I'm getting ready to show you through their membership with NAWB. So, I know this gets a little bit tiny to see, but what I want to drive here was to give you a quick snapshot of your largest industries. You all know this stuff, but it's a good grounding. Government's probably is actually your largest industry, retail, trade, healthcare, accommodation, food service, down into construction, and then other public services. And you can see on the slide kind of the dominance in the community, or the presence of parts of the pie, and how it compares nationally. So you over-index in government, retail, trade, and in accommodation and food service, but you under-index on healthcare and social assistance. But with those expansions, where's the gentleman who just talked about the expansions? In healthcare, you've got some things coming online to help you move up into the sort of closer to the national average. Now, within those industries, this gives you a sense of what the largest occupations are, right? Sales and related activity, food preparation, office and administrative support, transportation, material moving, educational, instructional, and library, management, it tracks on down. Right? But this gives you a sense of what your neighbors, where they're all work, what they're doing when they go to those places to go to work. Now, this is good news. After that year, where from 19 to 20, there's a speaker, go back this way, got feedback. 19 to 20, we had the significant drop everywhere. You guys have rebounded nicely. And by the time we get to 2027, you are projected to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 plus jobs in Charles County. Right? That's pretty powerful. Now, in those jobs, it is likely that these are the skills that are going to foster that kind of growth. These are the skill sets, competencies that people need in order to continue the growth. Several of you said growth, the sustainability definition, right? Merchandising, nursing, restaurant operations, selling techniques, marketing, cash register on down. You can read down through that, right? So here you can see the skill sets, the competencies that people are going to need to help to continue to foster and accelerate, hopefully, the growth that you're experiencing here in Charles County. So let's talk about the people very quickly. You got 133 some odd thousand individuals, 16 plus, right, that can participate up till the retirement age. And I don't exactly know when retirement age is anymore, right? I love my wife dearly. We've been married 29 years. She's in public education. She's in the administration in Howard County right now. And in 3.5 years, she can retire. And I am terribly jealous of her. But she's going to keep working because we got one in law school and one in college. So, but you've got 133,000 individuals in the available workforce, and you have a sense of who all is. You got 46,000 though that are not, in that age bracket that are not in the workforce. Now, this is an interesting slide because this is a crux slide. It's significant and important, right? So when you think about, and I love the fact that you guys have an asset report as a county now. I think that's really powerful. Really great work on that, right? And one of the key components of the assets that are in the county are you and your neighbors. But we need to look at what is when you think about business growth, and you think about where are we going to get workers to help us retain our competitiveness, help us retain our productivity, they're going to need to be really, really skilled. Well, what's the circumstance? I was going to say the challenge, but I'm going to say this is the circumstance because it's different, because I believe there's actually an opportunity here. Around 60% of the working age population in Charles County has some college or less. Let that sink in for just a moment. 60% of the individuals who are working age in Charles County have some college or less. If you pull out the some college, 35% about, and I'm sure there's accountants in the room that have already done the math and said, well, it's actually 59. Well, yeah, I get close enough. I'm directionally accurate. But 35% have a high school diploma or less. So how are we going to find a path for those individuals if the question before us is how might we achieve economic vitality for our businesses and our neighbors here in Charles County? Now, Commissioner Wu. Portia, one of the things you didn't mention that I am really thrilled about is that actually under Governor Hogan, and now continued under Governor Moore, is an emphasis around the idea of skills-based hiring. Right? And skills-based hiring, if you're not familiar with it, and probably many of you in this room are, because you guys are future thinkers and you're ahead of the game in a lot of ways, skills-based hiring is a recruitment approach that focuses on evaluating candidates based on their skills rather than their education or past work experience. Skills-based hiring moves beyond education and experience requirements to focus on the skills match between candidates and roles. It invites us to think about how we identify talent and, quite candidly, how we grow talent as businesses. Dr. Marilia Mayo, sorry about that, the founder of Mayo Enterprise, she's done a lot of work with a group called Innovate and Educate, some other groups. She's out in New Mexico. She's one of the leading researchers in this space. And she believes that if employers shift to skills-based hiring, they will have roughly 2/3 of the U.S. worker population that they have previously filtered out by requiring a degree. So when Governor Hogan made the decision to drop the 4-year degree requirement as a part of the hiring criteria here in the state of Maryland, this is what he was hoping to tap into. When Governor Moore has done more additional, more does more. That ought to be a campaign thing. Not that I'm not supported one way or the other, but that's a pretty good thing, right? But when he has laid on additional emphasis on this, right, it's recognizing that the systems that we have used in the past to try to figure out talent have not gotten us what we want. How many in this room, here's another audience participation moment, it'll just be a raise of hands. How many of you in the room have had an employee that on paper, that resume was just astounding? And when you got them on team, they were like, somebody lied. How many of you have had that person on your team? Right? That system doesn't really help us identify the competency sets and the talents we need and that you need. Because look, I got 3 open FTE at my place right now. And So I'm thinking really hard about this. And I'll tell you one thing I've done. In the job descriptions that we have at the National Association of Workforce Boards, we no longer have that line. I've got the requirements of the job and the specific duties and all that stuff. But when I get down to requirements and skills, I no longer have a degree in whatever or equivalent experience. I don't have that anymore. I've had to think really hard about what are the competencies that I need on my team in this area to drive productivity, to drive our ability to support the 575 workforce boards across this country. I've dropped the degree requirement in my job descriptions. And one of the things that when you look, and Forbes has done some really good work in this space, and there's others, but just to run through a couple of these things, and I recognize that I've got 10 minutes and y'all are on break, so I'll just sort of hop through these real quickly. But the benefits, the companies that have made this pivot, the states that have made this pivot, and there's, I don't know, Portia, do you know, there's 13 states now that have made this pivot? Yeah, it's over a dozen. I think it's 13 now. Maryland was the first one. Woo, woo. And I say that as a native Tennessean. I got 2 kids that are native Marylanders, so I'm trying. But the benefits of making this pivot, you get better quality of candidates because you're actually looking for competency. You've had to think about what is it that you actually need to get this job done. You get better quality of candidates because you can better align what you're looking for and how people present themselves. Secondly, you get an expanded talent pool. Remember, 60%, really 59, 60% of your neighbors here in Charles County have some college or less. But they got skills. They've got competencies. They've got talent. Right? This expands the talent pool. It accelerates your time to hire because you can actually see through things like internships, on-the-job training, love the highlights around apprenticeship strategies. That is a way to build a skills-based talent pipeline in a community. But you can more quickly get to time to hire, and you can, I was going to say this too, but you can actually ramp towards productivity much more quickly. Right? Because if you're bringing somebody on based on skill and competency, they've got the ability, when they come on board, it takes a year to learn a job. Not really. In this instance, you can accelerate productivity much more quickly. Reduce hiring costs, improve retention rates, and have ultimately a more diverse workforce. Right? Because you're looking at individuals from a very different lens. You're looking at individuals for how they can really accelerate your ability as a business owner or a hiring manager to accelerate your own productivity, your own profitability, and your ability to drive in a very, very competitive marketplace. So, a couple of resources available to you in the immediate. LinkedIn actually has some really, really great resources available, and Kelly, where are you? Here you are. You have this presentation, so those are the little light blue things are hyperlinks. So anyway, that's what that is. But anyway, if you share that around. But LinkedIn has some great resources on skills-based hiring. The Society for Human Resource Management has a whole toolkit called Skilled Credentials at Work that take you through step by step. What does it mean for me as a business owner or a leader in HR to consider and then maybe even implement a path to move your operations to be skills-based hiring oriented. They've got checklists. How do you rethink job descriptions? How do you rethink the interview process? How do you rethink job postings? Right? They look fundamentally different in this kind of an environment. And then we at NAWB, through some investment that we have from Walmart and working with some other partners, are actually convening a group of businesses and workforce boards in the Good? There we go. We are convening a group of businesses and workforce boards in Denver, Colorado in early December to conclude some work that we've been doing to actually create an Are You Ready checklist, right? There are researchers out there looking at this stuff. It's actually been looked at for about 35, 40 years. And the real dramatic impact that it has for businesses to be able to achieve those things on the previous screen. All this stuff, this is an evidence-based approach. The pivot is evidence-based and proven. So we know that the research is out there. What we need, what you need checklists. You need the actual tools to walk a path to considering implementing this sort of an approach. So I'll leave you with the question. How might we achieve economic vitality? All those phrases that you talked about at the beginning of my conversation with you. How might we achieve economic vitality for our business community and our neighbors, right? Here in Charles County. You've got great foundations to build upon. You've got momentum in the right direction. I want you to accelerate. I want you to pour gas on the fire. I want you to make Prince George's County jealous. That's what I want. And I also want Damascus to win the state title. But it has been a pleasure to be with you this morning. I thank you so much for the invitation. I hope that this has at least sparked an interest in conversation. To think differently. One of the ideas that I was going to call you Pastor Phil, Commissioner Rubin suggested at the beginning of the day that we were going to present you, and I think Kelly said it too, you're going to be presented things to think about, to consider, right? Today it's a great day to be able to come together for the first time in 4 years, right? But there's a lot of money invested in this room right now. Think about the amount of money sitting in this room right now. Your time is valuable, and I respect that. So I felt like it was my job to make sure that I gave you something to work on in your head, to consider, so that you can create more opportunities for people, more opportunities for business, and drive economic vitality here in Charles County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad, for being with us today and sharing, giving us food for thought, some stuff to think about. And you're right, that's what our hope is with each one of our panels and our speakers. Thank you.
I'll give you that back.
Don't.
Oh, okay.
You too.
Oh,
have a goodie
goodness.
bag.
Thank you.
Thank you again for spending the time with us today.
It's
And
my
I have
pleasure.
to say, go Westlake. Actually, it will be an honor for both of them. If they can both make it to the States, that'll be a good day.
That's true.
That'll be a good
That's
day.
true.
But we are a little biased. We do love our high school football teams here in Charles County. All right, so before we get started, a break is up next, and I know everybody's probably waiting on that, but before we get started on our break, I did want to take just a second to welcome Craig Renner from University Systems Charles Regional Medical Center, our morning's breakfast sponsor, to do a quick sponsor shout out. But please plan, once he's done, please plan to convene back at like about 10:05-ish for our Charles Chat session, which we're really excited. It's new this year. So, Craig?
So there's a couple ways to define pressure, but I think one of those ways is being between an audience and their break. So I'll try to be brief. It's great to follow the economic vitality talk because we've been what our CEO, Mohan Santha, describes as a bedrock institution in Charles County for 85 years. And you can see that if you look at the statistics that Taylor handed out, we're the 5th largest employer, and I'll share you with a statistic about our emergency department. Even though we're one of the smallest hospitals in the state, we're actually the 18th busiest emergency department in the state. So we understand what it means to be a bedrock institution. We understand why Charles County is a great place to do business. And we take seriously that commitment, like Dr. Santha describes, to be a bedrock institution. And one of the ways we do that is to meet our mandated requirement to conduct every 3 years what's called a community health needs assessment. And this is a process that provides a way for communities to prioritize health needs and to plan and act upon unmet community health needs. And there's a 5-step process for doing that. It takes about a year to gather data and write the report, and right now we're in the process of gathering data. So what's being handed out to you now is a card. It says, we want to hear from you. And this signifies step 2, where we're collecting data for the assessment. And that we're doing by collecting individual surveys. You'll see on the card there a QR code. By taking your camera and accessing that QR code, that will take you to our Community Health Needs Assessment survey. It's about a 50-question survey that assesses, what type of illnesses do you see that are prevalent in Charles County? What kind of challenges do you have accessing health care? A whole wide range of questions that we take then into account, write a formal report and action plan that we will spend the next 3 years using to assess health issues in our community, like diabetes, like obesity, like chronic health care. For example, we were having a focus group 2 weeks ago. One of the things that came up that we probably hadn't heard before was the prevalence of kidney disease and access to services for care for kidney disease. Every 3 years, we conduct this survey to find out just that type of information, but through surveys, through data assessment, to determine what the priority health needs are in Charles County, and more importantly, to work out a plan to begin to assess them. But we need your help. The reason we wanted to be here today, this is an important business need. We understand the importance of health care to attracting employment, to having successful employees, to being a productive workforce. So if you'll take a couple minutes, either right now or sometime over the next couple of days, scan that QR code, take the healthcare assessment. We'll take that data in. We'll include that in our report. We'll include that in the data that we include with the report, and it will help us meet unmet health needs here in Charles County. So thank you for your time. We're very pleased to be a sponsor here. Very pleased to work with Kelly and the Economic Development Department, and enjoy the rest of the program today.
So we are excited to introduce a new session to our annual fall meeting that we're calling Charles Chats. This TED Talk style presentation from 4 of our fabulous local business owners are going to be sharing their unique perspectives, workforce advice, and just food for thought that they've learned over their years of operating their business. So if you will help me welcome to the stage the following fabulous business owners. We have Darlene Breck with the topic Workplace Innovation. We have Nicole Turner with the topic Unlocking Success, the Power of Workplace Culture. Mr. Donnell Rogers with the topic Effective Ways to Reduce Conflict in the Workplace. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Monica Aguilar with the topic Building Company Culture in Clinical Settings. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Darlene. I'm excited, guys. Good luck.
Thank you. So are we. The first slide is up, so I've got it half right already. Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. And I'm here to talk about workplace innovation. My name is Darlene Breck. This presentation unveils the visionary journey of reshaping the Southern Maryland Business Center, White Plains. We've curated an in-demand business ecosystem for the Charles County community. Here, affordability meets state-of-the-art with Class A office spaces designed to inspire success for every business. But first, let me give you some background. Our first challenge when we started the Southern Maryland Business Center was nobody understood what we did. No, we were a brand new concept. Nobody knew what executive suites were, what shared space was. So we invited the community to play a part in our marketing. We invited the local clubs and organizations to use our conference room in our ever-changing world landscape. Aha, that's our lobby, and we're very proud of it. It's brand new, and that's adapting to change. Champions. We have over 45 different small businesses that lease from us. We have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have therapists, we have consultants, we have real estate companies, marketing companies, travel agents. We are very well versed in a whole different plethora of businesses. Our design forward expansion. Our design forward expansion offers a small yet collaborative environment that caters to the needs of today's workforce. And by creating a business ecosystem, when you think of an innovation hub, you think of VRBO, Uber, Apple, Silicon Valley. We all know that means a lot of technology. An innovation hub can be physical or virtual, space to grow, create new business opportunities. Southern Maryland Business Center is an innovation hub without boundaries. It's not a one-size-fits-all. With our versatile workspace solutions, we took advantage of our short-term lease model, worked with tenants to stretch their budgets, and took advantage of empty spaces. We expanded by over 5,000 square feet for repurposing to adapt to new business realities. We expanded our offerings, incorporated flex office space, as you see here, that's one of them, enhanced our meeting spaces, remodeled throughout, and enhanced our internet. I love this slide. It's one of my favorite. It's community and collaboration. It's where we foster collaboration with our commitment to community by networking events, workshops, seminars, lunch and learns, and retreats. We have high-speed internet, cutting-edge AV equipment, and secure access that gives seamless operations for your business. Our future forward vision, we continue to prove our value as an innovation hub for our community. It fosters creativity and innovation by bringing businesses together, and they share. They share vision, they share inspirations, they share ideas, they share creativity while networking. My tenants can expand and thrive, ensuring seamless operations for their businesses. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here today.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So how many people know the role that workplace culture plays in the success of your business, whether you're for-profit, nonprofit, healthcare, higher ed? How many people know the role culture plays? How many people know what their culture is like for their organization? Today, I want to share just a few tips about how you can unlock the success of culture when it comes to your business. I'm going to briefly talk about what culture is, and then I'm going to share some factors that impact workplace culture, the benefits of a positive culture, the consequences of a toxic workplace culture, and leave you with a few strategies to improve your workplace culture. I always like to start with a quote. How many people have ever shopped or are familiar with Zappos, the shoe place? Tony Sway, who is the creator of Zappos, may he rest in peace, he believed that workplace culture defined how successful your business was going to be. If we take care of the culture, everything else will be taken care of. Your customer service, your productivity, your profits, everything falls under that culture umbrella. So let's define workplace culture. When you think about workplace culture, what are some words that come to mind? trust, what else? Collaboration. What was the other one? Productivity. All those are good. I want you to think about how your organization behaves. What's your organization's belief system? What's your organization's attitude? What's the personality of an organization? A lot of people think, oh, does my organization have personality? Culture is the personality. The organizational climate is the actual mood of the organization. But when you think about workplace culture, it encompasses all of those things. The behavior of the organization, the belief systems of the organization, the attitude of the organization, the environment in which the employees operate and work within that organization. So let's talk about some factors that shape workplace culture. What creates culture? It all starts at the top. You know how those of you who are parents and you tell your kids to do certain things, but sometimes your behavior is opposite of what you're telling them to do? So if you want them to follow certain behaviors, you need to model that behavior because your modeling speaks louder than your words. So as leaders in your organization, it's your job to set the tone for the culture in that organization. And then on top of that, once you've set the tone, how your employees are engaged. Because we know that employee engagement is extremely important. According to Gallup, on average, the cost of disengagement is $450 billion a year. That's a lot of money if your employees are disengaged. So it's important to make sure that your employees are engaged because your employees, just like leadership, play a role in the culture. And then what are your organizational values? How many people know what their organizational values are? A lot of people can tell you what their vision and their mission statements are, but they cannot tell you what their organizational core values are. For my company, my core values are trust, respect, integrity, and collaboration. A lot of times now, there are 5 generations in the workplace. I can tell you Gen Z, and when Gen A come up behind Gen Z, they're going to be looking for organizations that are in alignment with their own personal values. So it's important to know and define, if you don't already have them, what your organizational values are. Communication. Communication goes a long way. That's two-way communication, giving feedback, also talking to your employees. The worst thing that can happen in your organization is the rumor mill tell your employees something before you do. Because that impacts the trust, that impacts the integrity, that impacts how they show up in that environment. So transparent, honest communication, and also having a mechanism for your employees to communicate with you. And then rewards and recognition. We've all at some point worked somewhere, and we all want to receive rewards, recognition, accomplishments. Think about the impact if you do a great job and you're never recognized for it. Or if you do a great job and you see someone who's doing less than you, but because the boss likes them better, or they get along better with their personality, they get the benefits and the recognition and the rewards that you don't. Most people are not working just because they like to work. And most people want to give their best to a job. So it's on you as leaders in your organizations to give your best to your employees. So now that you've given your best to your employees, let's talk about the benefits of a positive culture. When you have a positive culture, you have employee satisfaction and retention. When it comes to retaining employees, we know that there's this thing called revolving door. We heard about the Great Resignation, all of that. I want to put some dollars to it. When you think about the number of people who leave your organization in a year's period of time, I want you to think about the average salary for those people. And then I want you to calculate the dollars spent for the people who have to pull the extra weight when that position is vacant, how long it takes you to backfill that vacant position, the cost associated with that, the cost that's associated with onboarding, whether that's background checks, whatever, fingerprints, clearances, whatever that is, add a dollar amount to that. According to the Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM, on average, the cost of turnover is $220 billion. I get some people are going to leave your organization no matter what, right? But if you are creating a certain culture, it's going to be harder for them to leave. There have been people who've been loyal to an organization who was loyal to them, who said no to jobs that were paying them significantly more. So another thing is increase in productivity. I talked about the cost of disengagement. If you have a positive work culture, where your employees feel valued, where they feel seen, where they feel heard, where they feel like they can contribute, that is going to have a direct impact on your employees' productivity. Enhance innovation. Innovation goes a long way as we see all this new technology coming into the workplace. You want to be able to provide an environment where your employees can be innovative. They can take risk. And I understand in some jobs there are certain parameters that you can't go outside of, but within those parameters are an opportunity for employees to innovate and take risk. And then you're going to have an improved reputation. Days are long gone when people can't look you up on the internet and find out about your business. Even before I take on clients, I'm going to research them. If they're a publicly traded company under the Securities and Exchange Commission, there's this thing called EDGAR. I'm going to see how many times they were sued by their employees, what the outcome of those lawsuits were. I'm going to go to Glassdoor. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. I'm going to go to Indeed, because I want to know what your employees are saying about you. So if you have a good culture, your employees are your brand ambassadors. They're going to be the ones saying, yes, come work here. They're also going to be the ones who say, no, you don't want to work here. And then on top of that, you have resilience. Things are constantly changing. If you have the right culture, you create an environment where your employees can adapt to that change. Okay, so now you've had a great culture, but let's talk about the consequences of a toxic culture. The high turnover that I mentioned, it's a revolving door. When you put the dollars to it, you see how much sense it makes to create a positive culture where you can reduce that turnover. Poor performance. Employees in a toxic work environment suffer from poor performance. They may have burnout, they may have the revolving door, they may have this thing called presenteeism. I'm present, but I'm not giving my best. And I'm not giving my best because maybe I'm physically sick, I'm mentally not feeling well, or I'm emotionally going through things. But your culture is one that says to that employee, even though I'm not my best self, physically, mentally, or emotionally, I feel obligated to come to this organization and work. Well, when they come to work, presenteeism, 7.5 times more than absenteeism, this presenteeism results in lost productivity. You can't afford for them to be in an environment where they don't feel like it's okay to stay home. Reputation damage. I already talked about how people are going to look you up. When it comes to whether it's your customers, future employees, if you have a toxic work culture, it's going to have a direct impact on your brand. And there's legal and ethical risk. If you have a toxic culture, you're probably going to have more lawsuits. And you're going to be spending a lot of money and time on those lawsuits. So I want to share some strategies to improve workplace culture. As leaders, it's your job to lead by example. Also define and communicate what your values are. If you don't know what your values are, if you haven't created your values, start thinking about those. Encourage feedback. There should always be a mechanism for your employees to share feedback. Because as I always say, the people doing the work tend to have the best ideas. So it's on you to listen to them. Promote diversity and inclusion. And diversity is beyond just what we look like, because I can look exactly like somebody and we're totally different. I'm originally from the great state of Mississippi. I'm not going to think like somebody from New York, probably. My experiences are probably not the same. So promote diversity and inclusion. That also helps you when it comes to your innovation and moving the organization forward. And invest in your employee development. We know when the budget gets tight, training is usually the first things that go. But invest in your people, because you want them to invest in the organization. So in conclusion, it's important to recognize that leadership matters. How you lead your organizations make a very big difference in your culture. Your values are fundamental to the success of your organization. Communication is key. I like to use personal relationship examples. Imagine if your mate didn't communicate with you. And we all know the absence of information leads to assumptions, right? You don't ever want your employees to assume certain things. Create that two-way communication. And have opportunities for continuous improvement, because cultures are going to always change. Things in the world are going to always change. So I just want to leave with you, if you care about the success of your organizations, whether you're for-profit, nonprofit, healthcare, higher ed, whatever it is, focus on building your workplace culture. And if you have no idea what that culture is, I'm Nicole L. Turner, the Culture Pro. You can reach out to me at any point in time. I open with a quote. I like to lead with a quote. Richard Branson's quote is one of my favorites. Take care of your employees and they'll take care of your business. It's as simple as that. Healthy, engaged employees are your top competitive advantage. And that was my information.
Wow, that was good. Beautiful. All right. So, my name is Donnell Rogers. I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to kind of share my perspective. Unfortunately, it may not be as rosy as others, right? So, by trade, I'm pretty much an anti-tourism officer, right? Insider threat manager. Anybody heard of them terms before? Okay. By a show of hands, how many individuals within their organization have an insider threat program? That's 1, 2, 3. That's good. How about operation security? Anybody ever hear that term, operation security? Raise your hand if you have an operation security program. That's great. Oftentimes we don't, okay? So one key thing I want to highlight, illustration, I'm going to spend a lot of time on there. How many of you individuals kind of seen 60 Minutes special last week, about 2 weeks ago, right? In regards to the threat that China poses on U.S.-based organizations. If you have not, I encourage you to definitely take a look at it. It's on YouTube. And pretty much the FBI, they pretty much made another announcements this week in regards to the threat. So sitting here today, I really was able to see the insight and perspective of the effort that the state of Maryland is really putting behind their programs to bring business to Waldorf area in Maryland, period, okay? Now, how would you feel as far as your innovation, your technology, everything that you're integrating in your business, how would you feel if that was just taken away from you, right? So have you heard about ransomware attacks? How many personnel or businesses plan for that cost, okay? Not many, okay? So if you look at insider threat costs under Did You Know, look at the costs. So negligent insider threats, right? That's individuals. Nicole did a great job to talk about a positive culture and what also occurs if you have a negative culture, right? So we're looking at $6.6 million, 4.1 for criminal insider threats. So one key example of a criminal insider threat is, imagine just again, organizations, they become disgruntled. They have disgruntled workers, okay? They're gonna start trying to find a way out to, again, get out that environment, okay? So a lot of times, they may attempt to steal your information, okay? Sabotage, not just relationships within your organization, but things that they have spent years working on, they feel entitled to. So a lot of times, they're just gonna take that equipment, that whatever things that they pretty much worked upon, and you're gonna be lost without it, okay? Other key thing I wanted to highlight is the overall cost about OSHA-related fines. A lot of times, we talk about workplace violence, we look at workplace aggression. A lot of times, things don't really escalate to the level of an active shooter, but sometimes you have incidents that occur in physical assaults, pushes, screaming, things of that nature, and that results in individuals taking time off, which can be costly for employers. So key things I really want to highlight, again, Nicole did a great job of highlighting the organizational factors. If you look at the very lower right, I really take joy when I can walk into an organization and really see or feel that there's a positive environment. So by a show of hands, how many individuals really walk around their organization with the intent to really see how your organization feels, right? Okay? As a security professional, that's what we do all the time, okay? What are some things I'm looking for, okay? I am looking for individuals that are smiling, but I also, as a great security official, right, my priority is to also learn who my problem employees are. Every organization have them, hopefully not, but again, if you don't have strong recruitment protocols or onboarding, you're missing the mark, okay? If you don't have professional development, we talk about losing or not investing into the professional development, okay? How do you expect to really eliminate that bad behavior that employee may think is okay, okay? So my key, request and hope that you guys will really encourage us, really embrace your professional development programs. Because again, not every, leaders are not always born, okay? Sometimes they have to be developed, okay? And if you're not taking opportunity to correct bad behavior on the spot, professional development programs or sensor sessions are effective ways to, again, eliminate that bad behavior, okay? Now, again, let's look at toxic work environments. We looked at violence indicators. So if you can, I'll give you a brief second to look at that slide there. Okay, so we talked about good terms. I heard organizational culture. We heard the word flourish, economic stability, growth. No, this gentleman said grow talent in a workplace. And also workplace culture, okay? But again, just by show of your hands, how many personnel truly enjoy their job? That's good. Not everybody does, right? I love my job. And so when I hear about, hey, professional conduct, you know, when I get up in the morning, I want to make my business as pleasurable as possible because I understand the opposite. If individuals don't enjoy the work environment that you're producing, they're not going to want to come to work. They're going to be there, but they're not there. Does that make sense? Because we talked about productivity. So what about toxic leaders, right? A lot of times we can deal with the employees, but what happens when you have a toxic senior leader? How does that impact the organization? I got a better question for you. Who's going to correct that individual's behavior? Right? That's the benefit of having an insider threat manager or an anti-terrorism officer. When I do that, I do pretty much eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My job is to look at an organization. I hear all your missions. This is what I want to do. This is my objective. This is how I want to accomplish my goals. Toxic leaders or disgruntled individuals that don't want to embrace your culture or your mission, they're disrupting what you're doing. They're counterproductive to your organizational mission. So my job is to come in with a light hand when needed, or sometime I got to come in heavy-handed. Meaning bringing additional law enforcement personnel. Like, how many personnel will feel comfortable if an anti-terrorism officer shows up at your desk and say, hey, I need to speak with you about a matter, right? We have the ability to change behavior. Why? Because we talk about our livelihood. And the majority of your culture is positive, you're doing good things, you're embracing team building skills, you're saying, hey, we're gonna go out and learn today, put your hair down, you're prioritizing what matters. I'm not worried about 40 hours this week, which I really am because we know it counts, but I'm gonna establish priorities. If you do this and accomplish this task, man, we can probably be off by 2 o'clock on a Friday. That's how I was as a leader, okay? That's what I instill now, okay? I also understand the importance and what occurs if I do not correct bad behavior in the organization, okay? So as an anti-terrorism officer, our job is to make sure we're looking at things that could potentially escalate, and we can be our eyes and ears for the senior SEO, the CEO, whoever, supervisor, whatever. My job is I want to make sure we take the supervisors out of being a bad guy. You be the good guy, we'll be the bad guy, okay? Because again, we know based upon the individual's past behavior, they may lash out at their colleagues and supervisors. They often look at you guys as the bad guys. Does that make sense? So when you bring individuals around and you allow them to know that, bottom line, yes, we have an insider threat program. These are the behaviors we want to promote. Then they're more than likely to stay within bounds or behave at least while they work, which is the overall goal. So one strategy I want to just say implement, proactive security countermeasures. Be proactive, okay? If you look at these incidents that occurred, these are pretty much a lot of workplace violence incidents that occurred in the workplace. And based upon our experience, we know individuals commonly communicate their intent, either verbally or non-verbally, okay? So we're not always trying to say, monitor what somebody says. If somebody says something, trust and believe them, I'm gonna take it at face value. But you can also look at the behavior indicators, okay? And that's one thing we wanna focus on. Again, in organizations, I'm just gonna be candid. Organizations' unwillingness to prioritize diversity and inclusion causes problems for us, okay? It is easier for me, and I take my jobs, is a lot more easier and effective if I see organizations that's pretty much expressing what we have been talking about all day this morning. You know, pretty much inclusion, making people feel wanted. But one important factor that I would want to make sure that we highlight, is your training. So, onboarding. How many personnel do onboarding training? The organizations, okay? One effective tool that you can utilize to, again, correct and avoid bad behaviors is pretty much institute workplace violence and aggression programs, okay? During the onboarding process. So it's a method behind the madness behind this tactic. If you train everybody as they're coming into the door and you let them know the reasonable expectations up front, guess what? They know what expectations and behavior, you know, how they're supposed to pretty much behave during your organization, okay? Your policies, all these things should be written in your handbooks. I seen the SOP written up there. These are all guidelines and training that individuals should complete before actually coming on to the job. And what does that benefit you? Okay, bottom line, if the individual does not conduct themselves in a professional manner like you expect, then you already had policies and everything for a statement of understanding that you can utilize for your benefit, okay? Other key things I also want to highlight for as benefits of training. When an incident occurs in a workplace, okay, one of the things that individuals may not have knowledge of is that's when investigators come out. That's when OSHA comes out. They want to say, hey, let me see your occupant emergency action plans, right? When is your training records? When is the last time you completed this training? And oh, by the way, if you have disgruntled employees, what do you think their statements are going to be? They're going to tell all. We never completed training. I don't know when the last time we executed this. What is workplace violence and aggression? Okay, so during the onboarding process, that is, again, one priority that I'd encourage everybody to emphasize, okay? Also, I want to say that leaders play a major role in shaping and defining, again, how the employees themselves conduct themselves in the workplace. So, again, setting a proper example, okay? Not harassing, but also just motivating and encouraging everybody to act accordingly, then your subordinates are likely to set the same example that you're setting. I have also seen when the opposite occurs. If you have that toxic mentality and you show little care or concern about your employees, they typically pick up the same mentality, which is unfortunate for our organization. Okay? Schedule sessions quarterly. Okay, again, take time to meet your subordinates and hear their opinions because they have value. They feel as though when you allocate that time, they feel like they're being a part of the team, which is also important. One other key thing I want to make sure that we highlight. Okay. Schedule professional development, schedule system sessions, establish incentive-based and positive reward systems, and then promote and embrace equity and diversity. Again, through our side of the house, I have seen when you implement them countermeasures as well as your insider threat programs, you're able to kind of, you know, deal with the issues that commonly come with organizations that that pretty much express or convey that they have lack of policies in place. So without further ado, if you have any questions, thanks for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I can turn on the doctor voice. I'm Dr. Allgauer. I'm owner and audiologist at Rocket Hearing and Balance. We're located down in La Plata. Wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I was asked to speak about culture in the clinical setting, which is a little bit different than some of the rest of the board, so I'm real happy to be up here. Oh, and real happy to hear a familiar accent in the room this morning. Thank you very much. So I earned my doctorate degree over at Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. That's the only liberal arts university in the world for students who are deaf and hard of hearing. I have a certificate in clinical competency in audiology from the American Speech, Hearing, and Language Association, and that's an organization that I'll be representing in the spring through a webinar talking about private practice. I'm a fellow of the American Academy of Audiology, and I have postdoctoral certification in vestibular assessment and management through the American Institute of Balance. I'm also an adjunct professor at Gallaudet University. I teach the Intro to Private Practice class there. And I also adjunct at University of Maryland College Park. That's where I teach oral rehabilitation. And in case that wasn't enough, I run my practice and I see patients too. All right, so Rocket Hearing and Balance is an audiology private practice. A lot of people don't know what audiology is. So to put it simply, that's the study of hearing and balance, all right? So I get to help folks who are feeling dizzy, folks who are missing sounds, and sometimes both simultaneously. At Rocket Hearing and Balance, we love what we do and we're good at it. And I'm able to make that statement up here on stage because that's what my patients tell me. Our patients have the best experience because we have the right culture and the right values and the right mindset. And that's to always treat our patients right. That makes things real easy. These are our values, talking about having values, man, they do help you. Our company values really set the tone for our culture, and our culture to us is like a big warm wood stove. It affects everybody working in the office, and it sure does radiate to our patients and to our community too. Integrity, to us, it's more than just following the rules. To us, integrity means doing the right testing the right way to find the right diagnosis. It means allowing yourself to be guided by your moral compass. Compassion is more than caring. To us, it means treating our patients with a delicate kindness that some days it seems to be fading from the world. And we're putting the care back into healthcare daily, all right? Accountability is more than just showing up to work on time. To us, it means taking ownership of the roles and responsibilities that we have to our patients and to each other. And to piggyback on one of the points earlier, you know, leadership isn't a position with us. Leadership is a role. Leadership is an action. So that's part of accountability. Respect is more than just being nice. To us, it means that we value our patients, each other, and our community. We're givers every day. And excellence is more than just being the best. To us, excellence means that we are unmatched in our mission to provide our patients with gold standard, out of this world experience. Setting great company culture means hiring candidates for culture first. This dovetails onto the skilled-based hiring. So what do you guys look for when you're expanding your workforce? For us, a candidate must already possess values that align with our culture. We can't make someone care, right? I've definitely been in that position very recently, actually, where I interviewed this candidate who was just awesome. He was great for a traditional clinical setting, but regardless of what I might have said or offered as support, I couldn't make him care like we do. Setting great company culture means reminding every employee that their work matters. They're part of it. Each employee has a specific position on the team. The administrative assistant scheduling the appointments has as much importance as doctors providing care. The administrative assistant helped the patient to feel comfortable enough to come into the office, and the doctor established trust through validation and care. Patients feel compelled to comply with recommendations so they can get better faster. Each link in the chain of patient wellness is equally as important. Setting great company culture means recognizing employee achievements and celebrating the wins. Allowing employees to take pride in the work that drives motivation for future growth and development makes it way easier for me. Employees should feel great about what they do every day. In our clinic, we love to recognize the good work. We like to party. An employee wrapped up in a particularly difficult insurance project just got it done. That's breakfast and a shout out at the next meeting. A patient mentions you by name in a 5-star Google review, you just got cupcakes for everybody. And an employee that's I have a line item on my monthly budget for this specifically, so that we make sure that we get the recognition that we deserve, that we earn. Let's see. Setting great company culture means creating opportunities for employees to build relationships. Let me get my stuff together. So folks feel supported by their teammates, and they become good friends, lifelong friends. We all know the saying that teamwork makes the dream work. We know it, but do we apply it? You got to do that second part. This extends to our patient relationships too. I have the opportunity to know the best people in our community through my work, real lovely people who work hard and they contribute to the community as well. And I want to always be sure that I'm doing my best for them. Setting great company culture means comparing your ideal company culture to that of others. So how are you different? Why should people care? That's the most important question. In my industry, it's very easy to make money by focusing on sales, okay? A lot of people do it real well. And the way I put my company together, I don't really care about sales specifically. My focus is on service, on health care. I opened a clinic with the highest focus on patient care. Is it easy? No. Not only am I fighting the stigma of my industry, but I have the same issues as other medical clinics to tend to as well. But when you do the right thing, everything else follows. Setting great company culture means encouraging healthy work-life balance for all employees. If you allow your employees to work from home, you, as a manager, are showing that you trust that they will be accountable, not just for doing their jobs, but for upholding the ethics of the job as well. The more you're willing to trust your employees, the more opportunities they have to take ownership of their position. Our unique outlook on providing health care is what sets us apart. Think about the last time you went to the doctor or to the urgent care. How did you feel when you were there? How'd you feel when you left? Big questions. When building my clinic and putting my things together, it was very important for me to put the patient first and to be able to continue to put the patient first. There are certain challenges and risks that definitely go along with that, sure, but I think those same challenges and risks exist for any good trailblazer in any industry, right? I designed our day-to-day processes pretty thoughtfully. I took care to finesse all the details from the first time the patient calls the clinic, to the paperwork involved, to working with referring physicians. The patient experience is top of mind before a patient even sets foot in the office and continues after the appointment with our detailed reports and recommendations to support that patient. In our clinic, patients received unmatched attention during appointments. Our office is accessible, our furniture is comfortable. Our patients don't see 2 aides, a nurse, and a doctor, and another assistant. Our patients are working with a doctor for the duration of their appointment. We establish trust through validation. We're genuine, from check-in to check-out. And the best part is that we know our craft and we're eager to help everybody, because end-to-end care matters. Again, I'm Dr. Allgauer. I'm at Rocket Hearing and Balance. My little pocket of heaven is down in La Plata. Thank you guys for sharing your morning with me, and thank you, Charles County Economic Development Department, for being part of this event. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Great, thank you. Before the audience, or I'm sorry, our speakers, our fabulous business owners, jump off the stage, I did want to let folks know, I know at least 3 of you, maybe 4, but at least 3 of you are graduates of our Business Growth Advantage program. So BGAP that we spoke about earlier, we have alumni up on the stage. So I wanted to mention that. You know, I know certainly the information that you provided today was really invaluable, and I really appreciate, I mean, you guys are operating 24/7, you know, in your own individual businesses. So taking the time to come and speak today, taking the time away from your businesses to come speak today, for us in economic development really means a lot. So thank you for that. Thank you for utilizing our programs. Those of you that participated in the BGAP program, we're following you. We're cheerleaders behind the scenes quietly. Congratulations on 20 years of business, Darlene. That in and of itself is fantastic. So thank you again. We have actually a little bit more time for break today. So if we can join back here at 11:15 for our final panel, our Circle of Services Resource Partners. We have some really great information that are going to be shared during that panel. We really appreciate it. And for our BGAP graduates, if anybody's interested, please stop them during the break and ask questions about, the program and how they thought and, how to get involved and to get their feedback. So thank you very much. Panel, but Ellen Flowers Fields, I know most of you know our friend, good colleague of mine. She and I have been doing this economic development stuff for as long as we can remember, but as much as she's a great colleague, she is also a great friend. So if you don't know Ellen, please take the time to meet her. She's with the College of Southern Maryland and just a fantastic lady. So she is going to be moderating this panel. Great information. Thank you, ladies, for joining us, and I will now turn it over.
Am I using that mic? Oh, come on. That's right. I have my own mic. I just wanted something in my hand, I guess. Is that okay? Can everyone hear me okay? I'm getting the feedback. All right. Well, good afternoon. It is so wonderful to greet all of you today. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Ellen Flowers Fields, and I'm Vice President of Continuing Education and Workforce Development at the College of Southern Maryland. And it's my privilege to be moderator today over this esteemed panel as we broach the subject of advancing workforce together and really what that means for our community here in Charles County, but also for our region throughout Southern Maryland. So before we get started, I'm going to ask our panelists just to briefly introduce themselves, and then I'll engage with some questions. So Jen?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Brown. I am the Southern Maryland 2030 Workforce Development and PACS Partnership Programs Director. I've been with the PACS Partnership for 6.5 years and look forward to this conversation.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Brandt. I'm Director of Career and Technical Education for Charles County Public Schools. So I oversee our 33 different career clustered CTE programs in our high school programs.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, almost afternoon, everyone. I'm Larissa Couts. I'm the president and CEO of Melwood, which is an organization that wears many hats. We're a nonprofit, we're a federal contractor, we're a service provider, and all of that is done in the name of inclusion and equity for people with disabilities.
Thank you all very much for your introductions. So again, the theme of today's panel is advancing our workforce together. And I'd like to just start off by asking our panelists some general questions. Who is the we as we talk about working together and advancing the workforce? Who do we include in that we collaborative? Who are we looking for to work together?
Well, as far as we're concerned, obviously our future workforce, so our students, but then also meeting the needs that they have and identifying the experiences that they need to develop. And with that comes mentorship, it comes workforce placements so that they can really experience and explore and see what they want to do, because one of our main goals is making sure that our students are educated on themselves so they know where they will be best fitting and what supports they need. So, and then the next step of that is how do we develop those supports so that they are successful out there in the workforce, whether it means going on to post-secondary, whether it's a training program, whether it's apprenticeship, that all depends on what their strengths are.
And I would add, especially for Southern Maryland 2030, Secretary Wu said this during her remarks, that partnership is critical for growing. And we are founded in, partnering with government, industry, and academia, and nonprofits and community-based organizations for growing the workforce of tomorrow.
And our focus is making sure that every workplace is fully inclusive. So we take the DEI and we add an A to it. So it's DEIA, which means we've got accessibility as well. So we work with kids as young as 5 years old to adults that are past retirement to make sure that they're included in the community, but workforce is such an important piece of that. And so from our camps in Nanjamoy down here, where we introduce our kids with and without disabilities to potential career paths, to what their skills and their passions might be, as opposed to just what the world has been telling them that they can do. For 50 years, it was just 50 years ago that people with intellectual developmental disabilities were still being institutionalized because they were deemed to be untrainable, uneducable, unemployable. And so, we focus a lot on the neurodiverse space. So we're talking about folks with invisible disabilities quite a lot of time, which involves the stigma and the shame of not wanting to disclose it sometimes and then not getting the accommodations that you need. This is a part of the workforce that, if they're not included, all the employers are missing out on an incredible mind kind of bank of different ways of thinking, of creativity, of resilience. And so we focus a lot on equity and accessibility for people with disabilities.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. It supports my next question. No one left behind. What does this charge from Governor Moore mean for workforce development efforts in your organization?
For us, it means making sure that every single marginalized group has access to training and to the skills that you need to be able to find a job. Because within any marginalized group in the community, at the very bottom of that group are the folks with disabilities in that group. And so it's making sure that there's training available to folks who don't even have a high school degree, much less a college degree. It's making sure that the job industries like IT, tech, cybersecurity, skilled trades, that there's opportunities for someone who maybe never felt like they could sit through a 12-week or a 14-week class, but with the wraparound supports and the help can actually get a cybersecurity certificate, or can become a helper or a flagger on a construction site. So it's making sure that all paths are open to all people, not just very limited paths.
And I would say for us, we're pushing down even earlier into elementary and middle to develop individual career plans for all of our students, which includes self-exploration, some aptitude as well to see where their strengths are and where they're going to thrive. We talk to students individually about where their motivations are and the things that really do make them happy. Because if they're doing something that they enjoy and are good at, then they're going to be more successful. They're going to be better workers and employers for you all. So that's where our conversations are starting earlier. So hopefully that they're developing into our high schools, choosing courses and choosing pathways that are connected to those strengths and those interests. And that's all students. We work with our transition specialists to make sure that we have opportunities and supports for the students that might be a little less guided and also need some additional supports. So it's really a variety of things, but it's making sure that we're meeting them where they are, connecting to the way their mind works and where their interests are, and then finding the workforce and the next steps for them so that they can be successful.
And if I could just tag on to what Rebecca was saying, this past March, we held an inaugural Spark Student Career Awareness Fair. And it was a resounding success put together in 7 weeks, where we had 440 high school students from Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's County come together to the University System of Southern Maryland building, where we had 26 organizations from the Navy, government, banking, health, trades, and other commercial and industry partners. And literally it was all hands-on and interactive. And it was an opportunity where we had students saying, I literally had no idea this is something I could pursue to do after high school. And just raising those opportunities for the in-person, hands-on learning and exposure is critical, and that's a big part of the Southern Maryland 2030 focus. And I would be remiss to not make a plug that I am seeking companies to sign up for the next one on February 1st, and happy to chat with you after this panel.
Well, Jen, why don't we start there? How
Sure.
can companies in Charles County get involved with Southern Maryland 2030?
So this is a very peak period in the season of engagement with Southern Maryland 2030. We are launching and preparing for the summer 2024 college internship program. And this past year was our inaugural cohort of 41 student interns, college student interns at 31 companies, mostly in St. Mary's County. And I would just like to say Southern Maryland 2030 is wrapping up on its first year of efforts and funding, and we're excited for year 2. And I'm definitely looking to get more engaged with Charles and Calvert counties as we're moving forward, and welcome you to reach out to me. And when appropriate, I will pull up a slide that has a QR code, and I have business cards to share to connect for companies interested in hosting the college internships, interns, as well as engaging in the Spark Student Career Awareness Fair. And we're definitely partnering with Rebecca and the CTE program, as well as CSM in raising awareness for these opportunities.
Thank you, Jen. Rebecca, along those lines, what are some key ways businesses are able to partner with the local school systems to support the student outcomes?
So just to give you all a glimpse of kind of the vastness that CTE is in Charles County, I think it's page 25 in that asset inventory, I noticed. That's a list of all of our different CTE pathways, and they're in all 10 different career clusters. And some ways that we can help to support those pathways and make them as meaningful as possible is through program advisory committees. So each pathway has a PAC that meets several times a year, and those are members of our local workforce that are in industry. The complete job is to make sure that what those students are learning in those career pathways is completely tied to what's going on in industry now. Everything from the curriculum to the resources, the equipment, the experiences, so guest speaking, mentorship, field trip opportunities, internships, and apprenticeships. So all of those programs have all of that vastness. It's definitely, different than when I was in high school. But the businesses are what makes it authentic and meaningful. So that's definitely necessary. And the other is to become an apprenticeship site for Youth Apprentice, and I know that probably Jen will talk about this further, but we are growing the opportunity for, right now, our seniors to take on an apprenticeship in their senior year. We've worked their schedule so that they can, in different ways based on the business's criteria and what you all need, they can have that apprenticeship and learn those experiences. It does not mean that they have to go directly into the workforce after. It could. But it could be that they are doing some intensive exploration to confirm what their next steps are as far as their educational pathway as well. So all of it's really diverse, but there's a ton of opportunities for our local employers to be partnering with all of our CTE programs.
Thank you. Larissa, what are some of the biggest challenges for people with differing abilities in the workforce?
So that is a really good question, and it flows into what I was going to say, kind of to keep going with what Rebecca was talking about, which is the folks that are the least prepared to really make sure that they're fostering the kind of workforce setting are the employers. They're also in the best position to really shift the way that you are working with your corporate culture, which I think really ties well into the last set of speakers that we had, because almost every single thing on those slides that talked about corporate culture, that talked about trust, that talked about transparency and communication and performance-based reward system, those are some of the simple things you can put in place in your workplace to be as accessible and accommodating as possible to people with disabilities, particularly those who are neurodiverse. I talk about this a lot. The ideal manager or supervisor is one that sits down with each of his or her subordinates and puts exactly what the tasks are on the table that are needed to be successful in that job, and makes it very clear what you have to do, how it's measured, and kind of what the time frame is. And then once those job tasks are done, there's an opportunity for the reward, the positive-based kind of reinforcement. So few managers can actually do that. And I think it's a matter of really training and developing the next generation of leaders to lead in a way that is transparent and clear, because someone with ADHD or someone who is on the spectrum, the way they're most successful with their jobs is to get just complete clarity about here's what you need to do, and then here's how you were evaluated based on the clear objective tasks you were asked to do. That helps everybody in the workforce. It helps people be successful. It helps them trust their employer more. The ways to really accommodate as an employer are much less expensive and less scary, I think, than a lot of the myths kind of and misperceptions might seem. And one way to start, too, is the interview process. People with disabilities are often not even interviewed because they get phased out during kind of the culling process, because maybe they took an alternative path to get to the place where they are. Maybe they don't have a college degree, but they've got 5 to 10 years of experience. And so it's really looking at the requirements of the job descriptions that you're putting out there and making sure that you're only putting stuff there that you really, really need that person in that position to do, and to be willing to evaluate other criteria so that you're not leaving people kind of off the table. Having an interview process that is also very focused on the job skills that are needed for the job, not necessarily how that face-to-face interaction goes. If it's someone that's much more of an introvert or someone that has trouble with the sensory or lights or issues in the room, they might not be showing them their full selves, and asking candidates whether they need any kind of accommodations for the interview process. Just asking that one question already puts you above any other employer that they're going to be interviewing with, because you asked ahead of time if there's anything you can do to make them more comfortable in the interview process so that they can show their best and full selves to show what they could do for you. So it's everything from recruiting to interviewing to managing. Like during the Obama administration, there was a goal for the government to be meeting its disability hiring goals. And they have a goal of 12% for each agency to have people with disabilities at least. They met their goal, but within 2 years, 60% of those employees were no longer there because they only focused on the hiring process and did not include retention, didn't include how do we train the managers to supervise and to help enable career success. And that's what I love about what Melwood does, is we sort of do the entire wraparound supports. It's helping train people with disabilities and prepare them for the workforce, but we also meet with employers and help them see what they can change internally to make themselves a lot more accommodating and inclusive in their practices.
A lot of very salient points there, Larissa, that I think if we have time, we're going to get back to some of that. Jen, coming back around to you.
Sure.
You mentioned that this is the first year of Southern Maryland 2030. What have been some of your successes and some of your challenges in implementation?
Sure. So I realize I did not mention probably the most important thing about the internship program. So the initiative, the Southern Maryland 2030 Workforce Development Initiative was funded by NOC-AD. And the PACS partnership is executing it as part of our partnership intermediary agreement. So all of the companies that are hosting interns are hosting the interns, but the interns are being paid by the funding for the initiative. So this is a great way, especially for small businesses, to have an intern that may not normally have one. So I am really excited about that aspect of the program. The other thing that I think was a huge success of the internship program was it was really important for me to align it with standards. And so there is the National Association of College and Employers, and they have 8 career competencies that they interviewed, there's over 350 members, and said, what is important to you with new employees in your organizations and the younger workforce? And so each week there is a professional development session that the interns attend in addition to the work that they're doing at their host company. Not only was that professional development opportunity, it was also the opportunity to bring them together as a cohort because they were going to different companies. And the premise of Southern Maryland 2030 is really identifying, hiring, and retaining talent in Southern Maryland. And so when you bring people together as a cohort, that makes them feel more connected and eager to stay and continue working. I would also say, as Rebecca mentioned, in St. Mary's County, we help support the AMP Tech Jobs Rule Youth Apprenticeship Program with the St. Mary's County Public Schools. I have to say, the PACS partnership has been responsible for that for the past 5 years, growing from 8 apprentices in 2019 to this year we have 68 high school apprentices working in the community, also doing some stuff in the school system as well as at NOC AD. So it's a true testimony to it is working, it's really valuable, and these students are getting 450 hours of on-the-job training that, as Rebecca mentioned, some of them will continue working at those companies, some will go on to college, and some may do something else, but they're getting this very invaluable experience. Lots of support from the community, but like I said, challenges we want to grow in Charles and Calvert. So I'm definitely looking to you to partner with. So that is something I'm really excited about. The other thing is, I think everyone here can relate to the fact that sometimes it is hard to keep younger people in Southern Maryland because if they go out and see bigger, shinier, brighter things, it's hard to keep them here. So definitely looking at ways of getting that engagement.
Thank you. It sounds like collectively we're doing a lot to provide those opportunities for these youth. And so to that point, Rebecca, what is the local school system doing? What type of opportunities are being provided for the students that helps connect them directly to the workforce?
So, like I mentioned earlier, we are trying to push it down younger. So in the elementary schools, we're even starting that exploration, job shadowing, career days, things like that. Just also them starting, we have an online platform, Zello, which allows them to build their own profile. And it's based on their answers, and it follows them all the way through high school. So each year they kind of revisit it as they develop and change, so can their profile. So it's all about that exploration. And within that, the middle schools now have career coaches, which is new this year. One of the great benefits from some of the work under Blueprint. So all of our middle schools have career coaches, and what their work is really doing in the middle schools is, again, like I said, creating those individual career plans for our students. And what that's going to develop into is little cohorts and clubs and groups of students with similar interests and ideas that we can really vamp up and allow them to experience and explore with mentorship and things like that in the middle school levels. And then in high school, our programs, like I mentioned briefly, are really intensive as far as a connection to the workforce. So their curriculum is aligned directly to what is going on and the jobs that are out there, so that our students are aware if this is really their niche, if it's the thing that they want to do for the next phase of their life or not. So there is the opportunity for them to mentor, internships, apprenticeships. Again, the other part that's really great about our CTE programs is they have the opportunity to earn industry-recognized credentials. So when we're talking about hiring based on skills, when I saw that 60%, that didn't really make me too nervous because the amount that students can walk out of high school with is pretty immense. They can walk out with college credits, a lot of college credits, which I think I'll go into a little bit further later. But then also they can have these credentials and certifications to be entering into the workforce, already having those foundational skills. So as an employer, you don't need to address those with that person. You can start to build at a higher level.
Wonderful. And Larissa, along those same lines, can you talk a little bit about the work that Melwood does and how you engage with your partners to expand the opportunities for your customers.
Absolutely. And just being up here with these amazing women, you know, there's already a lot of ties that are just here on the stage. So the College of Southern Maryland helped us develop a curriculum and a training course called Building Paths that we did together, making kind of an intro to the skilled trades accessible for people with disabilities, with us providing kind of the wraparound supports, figuring out transportation issues, housing issues if they're there. And that has led directly to pre-apprenticeship programs with local unions. Actually, so we also have an Ability training program that we run where we get folks ready for IT and tech jobs. But I got to tell you, that Building Paths program, our placement is amazing because of the need for skilled labor. And so it's incredible to see our graduates being like taken up so quickly by employers. And we do a lot of pre-eds training with kids with disabilities coming out of high schools and, you know, kind of losing a lot of their supports because they were education-based and helping especially caregivers and parents figure out what's next. And even with the Ability program, you know, the folks that we graduate have got all these amazing like CompTIA, other certificates that I don't understand what they mean. But every single entry-level job they apply for says you need experience. And so it helps that Melwood is an employer, and it's the reason we are an employer, because a person with a disability often needs to get help getting that first job. Once they have had that first job and they have it on their resume, they're mostly golden. And that's why we were founded 60 years ago. We were founded as a social enterprise by parents of young adults with disabilities who knew the skills and the passion for work that their kids had, but they had no entry into the workforce. And so, like I said before, we wear so many hats, but everything we do is contingent on public-private partnerships, partnerships with other employers in the field, partnerships with government entities, with school systems, with economic development boards, workforce development boards, because this is a problem that will not be fixed by just one entity or one governmental organization. You know, legislatively, we've come a long way in terms of the ADA, which helped a lot for physical disabilities. But there's this whole group of neurodiverse individuals, and it goes into mental health too, and behavior, things that don't impact someone's ability to do the job, but there still is this sort of shame and stigma and a fear on the part of a lot of employers. So we do a lot of advocacy work, and like I said, we do work from the very beginning of someone's life to expose them to anything that they could dream about doing, and then helping support them, you know, through all the stages. So if there are employers here that do something fascinating that you would love for kids to learn how to do, you know, our summer camp is like 10 to 12 weeks long, and we're right here in Nanjemoy. We had CGI come last year, and they had a 1-week kind of STEM camp where they built these underwater remote controlled little submarines that picked up litter from the bottom of the pool and also from the top of the pool, and they learned about the environment and science and robotics. We've done a farm to table camp that the Wills Group sponsored, which was fantastic, and sent home kind of flower pots with vegetables growing in them for kids to be able to continue to do at home and create their own gardens. Anything you can think about doing that you do, you know, we would love to have you come, and even if it's a career day that we have at camp or anything else like that. So I really welcome you to reach out for that, as well as if you need help with, you know, inclusion and neurodiversity and accessibility. We're a nonprofit. This is what we do. We're happy to come in and talk to your HR folks or talk to your workers about what it's like to work with someone with a disability who, by the way, Accenture did a study. You get a higher ROI, you get higher productivity, and you get a better corporate culture when you can show that you're truly being inclusive of everybody out there in your community. And the last plug I'll give is for the fact that because the for-profit sector is not employing a lot of the folks that we employ who have such high barriers to employment, we employ them until we can find a place to help them start their career in the community. So I have about 1,600 employees, 1,000 of whom have significant disabilities and barriers to employment, and we do everything from HVAC, electrical, landscaping, custodial work, administrative work, mailroom, warehousing, and fulfillment. So to the extent you guys are looking for someone to sub out work to, do it with Melwood or some other nonprofit like us that works as a social enterprise and puts people to work, as well as providing excellent services to our clients.
Wonderful. Rebecca, I'm going to jump back to you for a moment. You touched upon this, but if you could give us a little bit more insights into what are some of the ways that public education has changed over the past 5 years to provide students with these more authentic workforce experiences?
So one big shift is all of our graduates are going to be asked to enter into some type of a pathway in high school. And this is something we're transitioning into, but we're already seeing it. And what I mean by pathways is it could be one of our CTE pathways, it could be one of our early college programs, and we're developing also an AP pathway. And so what that means is, again, they're going to be using the information that they've developed and created through their self-exploration, through their interest surveys, through all of these profile building to see where they best fit. And then in high school, they're going to do some intensive work to see if that is the fit for them. And the purpose is twofold. First, it's to see, are you right? Is this really what you want to do? Is this where you thrive? Is this where you are happy? Is this going to be your next phase, or is this not? And so we're starting them earlier on that path. I know for myself, I went off to college and did, figured it out kind of along the way. And then, it was a bumpy road through my 20s, figuring out where my niche was and what my strengths really led into. So we're hoping to start that journey earlier for our students. And so that means that they're graduating from us with a lot more under their belt, whether it is internships and apprenticeships, or extensive college credits. We have programs that can have them graduating with associate's degrees, different certifications and certificates. We're adding programs each year through our partnership with College of Southern Maryland. And it's really exciting. And again, it's tied into this whole idea that we are helping our students identify what they want to do and how to get there. So they're becoming much more educated about the diversity of paths. So when you speak to these students, I know I can say the conversation I had with my own 11th grade daughter, she's saying, well, I think I'm going to do an apprenticeship next year, maybe with a real estate to see if I want to do that, but then I'm definitely going to go on and do post-secondary in business to make sure I have my business degree, but then I can do this. Of course, she is my daughter, so she's probably heard a little bit of me talking about it. But there are just a lot more educated conversations that our youth are having, and they're walking out of high school ready and willing. So I think that's one of the biggest things, that high school is full of a lot more intensive experiences. So if you are seeing these high school students coming, and I would say give them a chance, because they may be ready to really lean in and be the employee that you're looking for as well. So,
Rebecca, you leaned into the last question that I have for the panelists before we open up the floor to see if our audience has any questions. And that's really for all three of you. What advice would you give to employers when it comes to having that inclusive workforce model, for leaning into some of these young people or non-traditional individuals that would come into the workplace? What advice would you give them in order to move forward?
I would actually like to share a story from the summer college internship program. So how the process goes is students complete a profile, the companies complete a profile, and then I kind of do some internal matching before referring to companies to interview directly the students. And I have a simple ask that the companies interview all the candidates that I give. Well, this year there were a few who very honestly shared with me, we didn't even bother interviewing a few of the students because they didn't match. Now keep in mind, these are students that are 19 to 21 years old, some of them seeking help from their career services department on campus or a parent or mentor, most of them not. And so they don't know what to put on their resume. And all 3 companies that chose to not interview the candidates, but then when they told me, I said, please do. They all admitted that candidate that they did not want to interview was the one that became their preferred candidate. Because young people don't know how to market themselves. They don't know what their assets are. They don't know what they're contributing and what employers, they don't know all the key words and how to do all of that yet. So what I would kindly ask employers is to show some grace and provide a little bit of mentoring during a process of when you're looking at candidates. Because, just like Larissa and Rebecca said, people come with a lot of things, but they don't necessarily know what it is that they need to share. So that would be one of my asks of everyone in this room is being a little bit more open-minded and giving time to young people to help them showcase and pull out from them what they have to offer.
That pretty much goes right into what I would say as well. I think that as we're moving forward and this world is changing, I think micro-credentialing and experiences and all of these things that our youth are experiencing are building on each other to develop the workforce in a different way. And I think the hard part is, as employers, how do we assess that and get that out to know who we're getting as a possible future employee? So I really think that looking at how we are interviewing, how we're assessing, needs to be changed a little bit along with that. And I mean, I don't have all the solutions yet, but I think that's something we need to dive into. How do we really assess what will make someone thrive in the position that you're looking for? Because they are experiencing a lot. They've been through a lot also, and I think that they've come out on the other side. We're still getting the dust off for a lot of our students after the effects of pandemic, and seeing what that kind of did is really, it's interesting. And so I think that it's looking at them in a diverse way to allow them to really showcase what their skills are and what they can offer you as an employee.
So I always tell employers to lead with empathy and curiosity. Whether you're interviewing someone new or working with an employee that's having some trouble, to really take an honest assessment of your risk tolerance to make sure that you aren't being too risk averse in some of the kind of thresholds you're putting on folks who you're interviewing, and then to really invest in workplace culture. Like I said, all of those things that might be kind of scary accommodations are often really ways of just making sure that your corporate culture is really solid. And I have a story that I'll share too, since Jennifer did, and I love that story, is we had a young man who had never gotten a job before outside of retail and stocking shelves. We had him go through our Ability Tech training program, and he interviewed with MITRE Corporation. And MITRE Corp has this one question that they ask all of the people they interview. And throughout the many years that they've been doing that, they've gotten one of about 3 answers solidly from all of the people they interview. There's no answer, there's no real true answer to this problem. It's just meant to see how somebody tackles a problem, what processes they go through, and where kind of how creative maybe their solutions are. This guy gave a completely new answer that they had never heard before. And so if you only remember that one thing, that there are people out there that are innovative and creative and that will help take companies to the next level in ways you would never even thought are possible. And that's because they've been shut out of the workplace for so long. So take a chance and question kind of some of your own internal processes to make sure that people aren't being marginalized.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause for our panelists? Thank you for the work that you each do every single day to help prepare our region's workforce. Now, we have about 5 minutes So I'd like to open the floor if our audience have any questions for our panelists. We have staff members from the EDC on the floor. They have mics. They can come around and bring it to you. Okay, so while our audience is being shy, I'll pitch out one question. That I have for you. You guys really brought together the themes and the conversations from earlier today in your comments as we talked about communication and how critical it is and how the culture of an organization are the foundations for real retention. And I think employers are struggling, even if they find people, keeping them is another challenge. Can you talk a little bit about, from your perspective, the retention aspects that you're seeing from the programs that you're supporting? And again, what other advice would you give employers around the retention piece for the recruitment efforts?
So another success of Southern Maryland 2030 from the college internship program is that out of 41 interns, 8 have actually been employed part-time during this school year. So they are continuing, and that sense of retention is, very strong and exciting as we're looking to build and grow this program. I think, we talked about being innovative and thinking of things in different ways. And I would also share that a few of the interns, went into companies that had a certain kind of job description. And then after the first week, when they kind of got to know the intern a little bit better, they were like, actually, they have this skill on a project that we weren't even thinking about, but because they have that and can be an asset to what we're looking to grow towards, they went into a different direction and had great success. So I think that openness and flexibility and innovation is really important as well. And also kept the student very excited because they really felt like they were contributing to the mission and work of the organization.
I can just say, I think our efforts and our hopes are that we're starting that exploration for students early enough that they're more aware of what they're looking for. And with the hopes of retention, that they're going to find their niche and thrive. So that's kind of where our work currently is, to try to make it so that as they're placed and they find their place of work, they find that commitment and really do fully commit to that.
So from my experience, every single one of us wants to feel valuable. We want to feel valuable at home to our families, and we really need to feel valuable at work because it's somewhere that we spend the most time of anywhere that we go. And ensuring that you train your managers and your supervisors to make people feel valued, to help them understand their small piece of the greater mission of the company, to understand what the values of the company are and really how they fit in, and then just have fun more. I think that I forgot who the speaker was that was talking about some of this in the corporate culture. We forget that we spend so much time with our coworkers and we want to laugh and we want to have fun. And I think from the leadership perspective, if you help enable that once in a while to kind of have everyone be able to take a deep breath and just feel like it's okay to just be a person and it's okay to talk about their struggles. From the leadership perspective, I always talk about my struggles with being a caregiver, with being a mom, with having anxiety disorder. I think if you can start from the top and be willing to be vulnerable and have everyone else see you as just another person as well, it helps people feel like they're comfortable, they're in a place where they can be themselves and feel valuable with what they have to give.
Thank you all again so very much. Thank you, Kelly.
Sorry, we rearranged furniture up here, so if you give me 1 second. Okay, thank you, ladies, all, for taking the time today. I can tell you each and every one of these organizations are a valuable partner of our Department of Economic Development. We appreciate, we reached out, you guys answered the call. Jen, we're super excited about Workforce 2030. We were monitoring the success in the pilot year, and we're really excited to be able to bring that to our businesses in Charles County, so certainly stay tuned for that. Our friends with North Point and CTE programs, I mean, when I talked about the Waldorf Germany visit earlier, you guys were the main show that day, and it was just fantastic to see those students. And then certainly our friends at Melwood. We really appreciate, Melwood's doing a lot of investing and growing in Charles County, as well as still, growing in around their other facilities around the state of Maryland. And we do treasure your partnership, and we're looking forward to some great things at the facility over in Anjamoy. And as always, Ellen, thank you very much. Again, great friend, great colleague. Please reach out to the College of Southern Maryland, as well as some of our other educational resources. I know we had University Systems of Maryland at Southern Maryland. They're one of our key sponsors today. Their executive director was here. There's a light shining in my face, so I don't know if she's still here or not, but definitely they're another key educational partner to us when we talk about pathways, ways that we can, start them young, get them interested, let them know that there definitely is a path forward, not only to possibly getting an education, work experience local, but they can do it within the community that they live in. And that's certainly what Commissioner Collins was talking about earlier today. So thank you very much. And we're wrapping up here. You guys can certainly stay where you are, or you can exit the stage, whatever you'd like to do. So we're closing in on the end of the program. Please join me one last time in thanking our sponsors today. We certainly would not be able to put on this program without them and without their support throughout the remainder of the year. Also want to give, and if you can join me in giving a round of applause to our Department of Economic Development team. We have a fantastic group within our department. I've tried to give individual shout outs throughout the day, but I do need to say Lacey Herbert, who is with our team. This beautiful fall decor today was Lacey Herbert. So thank you, Lacey, for taking the time. There she is. Wave, Lacey. Thank you. Thank you for designing our all of our beautiful flowers and centerpieces today. We really do appreciate that. We hope that you found today's information relevant and timely. As I said from the beginning, we really wanted to give you some food for thought, some things to think about, some things, hopefully there was like 1, 2, maybe 3 pieces of information that got you thinking, wow, I either can implement that, or hey, I need to reach out to that organization, learn something new, whether it be in our asset inventory, our annual report. However, we're hoping that you walked away with at least one bit, if not more, of information. We are going to ask you to fill out your survey. It is very important that we get that feedback back to you. We do read it. We do use it to try to improve our programming moving forward. So please take the time to fill out that survey piece when you get it. Also, do not ever hesitate to reach out to our team in Department of Economic Development. We've all been here today. We know a lot of you in the audience, but we did meet some new friends today. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our department. We have an open door policy. I have an open door policy. I love meeting new businesses and new colleagues and friends here in Charles County. I learn something every day. I've lived here my entire life, and I still literally learn something every day new within this community. So please take the time to reach out to us. In closing, I wanted you to please accept in gratitude, right there in front of you, the department's challenge coin. You should have all received one there in front of you. This is the first challenge coin that our department has done. We wanted to give it to you and thank you for your ongoing partnership and support. Whether you are a business owner or a resource partner or a nonprofit partner or just an interested community partner to us, we thank you for your ongoing partnership. So please accept this in our gratitude. Display it, showcase it wherever you would like within your office, and think fondly of us. One thing, and this is one of my favorite sayings, and I truly do believe this, great things happen when businesses can tap into the programs and people standing by who are ready to serve and help them succeed and prosper. So please stay safe and be well. And if you would like, on your way out the door, oh, never mind. I'm getting the never. Well, you were going to have a little bit of a secret, but we'll save that for the next time. Thank you. You guys be well. Thank you.